In the bustling city of Jing, a young woman strolls down the street, absorbed in her phone, when a stranger suddenly taps her shoulder. The man warns that she is marked and destined for bloodshed. Baffled, she asks what he means. He insists she must shed blood to prevent future disaster. Still confused, she rummages through her bag, mentioning she has her aunt's towel and hasn't forgotten it. Irritated, she snaps that she's no virgin and has zero interest in dating him. The man silently fumes, thinking he was just trying to help, only to be branded a pervert. He wonders if all the women in Jing have become this way. As he walks off, he reflects that such attitudes our normal mortals are everywhere, and naturally, they don't believe. The scene shifts to reveal the young man's background. Born into the prestigious Yi family, he endured bullying from classmates despite his family's happiness. But everything shattered 5 years ago when his father tried to rescue a girl and offended a powerful man from the capital. Days later, during a banquet at Cloud Lake Villa, his entire family was slaughtered. He alone survived. None of the family's friends, uncles, or associates lifted a finger to help. Consumed by fury, the boy vows to kill. He charges at another man, sword in hand, but the weapon shatters on impact. Maliciously, his enemy mocks him, sneering that he doesn't even know what the Yi family truly is and that he could destroy it with his own hands. The young man recounts that if his mother hadn't pushed him into Keen Lake, he wouldn't have survived. A master saved him and took him to Kunlun. Now, with a mission from his master, Yi Chen has returned to the city, determined to settle every blood debt. Suddenly, his power surges. Many people collapse, unable to move, feeling weak. Realizing he's accidentally affected innocent bystanders, Yi Chen quickly suppresses his energy. The crowd murmurs in confusion, wondering what strange force they just felt. Chen decides it's time to finish his master's task. Revenge can wait. The Homai Group building looms ahead, one of the top 500 companies in China and a leading corporation in Jing. Confused, the protagonist wonders if this is truly where Zia Luoxu from the Homai Group is located. 3 days ago, his elder used divination and discovered the girl might die within 100 days. Now, it's up to him to prevent this catastrophe. Yi Chen approaches the entrance. 2 security guards block his path. He tries to persuade them, saying he needs to meet Zia Luoxu. The guards contact the young lady and ask if he has an appointment. Realizing he can't reach her, Chen asks how to make one, insisting what he has to say is critical. He suggests waiting on the sofa. The guards refuse, saying not just anyone can meet her, and order him to leave. Irritated, Chen questions their words. In an instant, he unleashes power that brings both men to their knees. They wonder what just happened, feeling as if death brushed past them. Triumphant, the protagonist warns them to watch their words and not act like bastards. Others stand baffled. He sits, removes his cap, and demands the manager be called. Purple energy begins radiating from him, leaving everyone shocked. Armed police approach. The head of security steps forward and asks if Chen has considered the consequences of the chaos he's causing. Still annoyed, he explains he's simply looking for Miss Zia and asks not to be interfered with. Frightened, the security head realizes this boy could easily kill them all. Wanting to resolve things, he says the woman isn't on the premises and asks Chen to leave contact information. Confused, the boy realizes there's nothing he can do since she's absent. Even so, he decides to wait, sitting down and declaring he'll stay until she returns. The security guard thinks he cannot allow such a dangerous person to remain. He orders officers to advance. A commanding voice rings out, ordering them to stop. A purple-haired woman with an imposing presence enters the scene. She announces she'll handle the situation. Other employees wonder who she is. She's introduced as Sun Yi, the company's director, the only one whose appearance rivals Miss Zia Luoxu. The security head tries to warn her it's dangerous, but she asks to be left alone with the protagonist. She introduces herself and asks how she can help. Chen is surprised to see her and hear her name. Immersed in thought, He reflects that over the past 5 years, Sun Yi was one person he could never forget. They were seatmates in high school with a wonderful relationship but lost contact afterward. Then tragedy struck his family. The Yes became scorned and despised. All families announced they had severed ties. The Thai group, founded by his father, was seized by others under the shadow of the man from the capital. Yet Sun Yi faced all the rumors, went to the morgue to claim his parents' bodies, and erected gravestones for them. Still shocked by the encounter, Chen admits he never expected to see her here. His thoughts are interrupted when she points out he's getting too close. He apologizes. She asks if there's anything she can help with. Embarrassed, he explains she reminds him of an old friend, which distracted him. Sun Yi remarks the conversation sounds old-fashioned. She tells him to stay and wait for the person he seeks without causing trouble, then leaves. Chen becomes lost in thought again, observing how much his friend has changed over the years. She's gained tremendous presence. He decides to set aside the matter with the pest. As he exits, someone unlocks a car. It's Sun Yi approaching her vehicle. In the car, she notices something strange in the rearview mirror. The boy is sitting in the back seat. She screams. Chen greets her, calling her beautiful. Confused, she asks when he got in and what he wants. He asks if she could give him a ride. She doesn't understand he was supposed to wait for someone but decides to help. Curious, she asks his name before letting him stay. Lost in thought again, he notices her yin-tang is darkened, a serious omen. He introduces himself as Yi Chen, but says she can call him by his second name. The girl and protagonist enter a building. Everyone is left speechless by Sun Yi's stunning beauty. Some wonder why she's walking in with a man, the first time they've seen her with someone at a party. They sit at a table. Chen has no objections. Before they settle, someone calls for the company director. Gu Yang, founder of the Yashin Group, introduces himself along with other businessmen, saying they'll sit at the same table. Sun Yi is surrounded. Everyone proposes a toast, making her uncomfortable. Before they clink glasses, Chen intervenes, grabs the drink, and says he'll drink on her behalf. The businessmen grow irritated, questioning who he is and what he's doing. Chen is about to introduce himself, but his friend interrupts. She says that's not the proper way to refuse and she'll handle it. Sun Yi explains she's not good at drinking and can only manage one glass, asking for understanding. Smitten, the three businessmen agree. One, annoyed, asks if it's an exaggeration to have just one glass. Chen Fang approaches. Murmurs spread. Everyone recognizes the second young master of the Chen family, mentioning the woman already had issues with him. Intimidating, he gets close and says she left without goodbye last time, so this time she must drink the entire bottle. He states it's not a request but an order. Trying to deflect, she says drinking too much might cause problems and asks if one glass is acceptable. Persistent, he says he has a presidential suite with plenty of space where she can sleep after getting drunk. Distressed, Sun Yi knows everything this man does. He drugs women without caring. After refusing, the old man snaps, calling her a brat and accusing her of pretending to be good. Crying and scared, Sun Yi reflects that she came from a simple family, took a long time to achieve her director position, and compared to the son of a wealthy family, she's nothing. Noticing the situation, Yi Chen intervenes. He takes the wine from the businessman's hand and lifts it. Irritated, the man asks who the boy is. Without hesitation, the protagonist strikes him with the bottle. Injured, he falls, screaming in pain, demanding how the boy dared hit him, something not even his father has done. Taking control, Chen returns the question, asking how the man dared force the girl to drink. Everyone is shocked. They think it's terrible because it involves the Chen family's young master, frightening as the family reportedly has an ancient martial artist on their side. Worried, Sun Yi reflects on dragging her friend into this. She apologizes, says she'll drink all the wine that night, claims Yi is her friend, and begs them to let him go. Furious, the businessman Chen says she has no right to make conditions, the boy is in danger, and he will die. something happens. The old man's eyes widen, screaming about his testicles. He falls to his knees, hands between his legs, screaming he wants the boy dead. Chen approaches, touches the man's forehead, and asks who is supposed to die today. Mocking, he asks which of them will die first while pushing the man's head toward the ground. Someone intervenes, ordering them to stop. A gray-haired man commands them to let the businessman go, accompanied by security guards. The older man remains still, observing. He shouts again, ordering them to release the businessman. Everyone comments it's the head of the Chen family, known as Gino. The old man beside him exudes immense presence, a legendary ancient martial artist. Sun Yi grows more worried. Fang calls for his father's help. Realizing trouble, she wonders how to save her friend. Chen releases the man quickly, observing the bearded elder. He wonders if this is what they call an ancient Chinese martial artist. Crying to his father, Fang says he was kicked in the testicles and demands revenge. Irritated, the old man orders his son to shut up and move aside. Questioning, he asks who the young man is. Another interjects, saying the boy is a martial artist, but due to his age must have only recently entered the realm of mortal warriors. Chen approaches and asks if there's anything else they want from him. Gino says the boy made him lose face and wonders what to do, adding that he's a kind person. If the young man begs for mercy, he might leave his body intact. The martial artist steps forward, acknowledging the boy's impressive skills at such a young age. Still, he says he'll handle it. Threatened that he messed with the wrong people, Chen stands unfazed before the Chinese elder, who rushes toward him. Quickly, the man gets close and touches the boy's shoulder, trying to intimidate. He says if the boy begs for mercy, he might let him live. Unbothered, he says he won't beg. Sun Yi reflects on what just happened. The protagonist grabs the elder by the head and asks if he's already chosen a coffin for his funeral. Irritated by the provocation, the old man orders the boy to go to hell and tries to strike, but Yi defends himself and lands a punch on the martial artist's mouth. With immense force, the man crashes hard to the ground, which cracks immediately. The boy remarks the elder is truly evil. Everyone stands wide-eyed and terrified as Chen asks who will be next. Gino is shocked old Ming was defeated by the young man, wondering how it's possible. Getting up, the martial artist asks who the protagonist is and comments on his cultivation. Calmly, the boy considers answering but returns the question, asking if Ming is worthy of knowing. A loud noise fills the room. People cover their ears, wondering about the scream's source. Approaching the Chen family leader, the protagonist asks if he is Gino. Trembling with fear, the man can't form a sentence while confronted. Still staring, contemplating his next move, the boy recalls the Chens also played a part in his family's tragedy. A shot rings out, ordering someone to stop. Guards approach. The elder says the young man won't want to do this. Quickly, men in black move to grab the protagonist. With a single punch, he disperses the group, sending them flying. Confident, he says ordinary people can't do anything against him. Realizing the dire situation, Gino begs for forgiveness, admitting fault in failing to properly educate his son. Hearing those words, he says he's sorry, but it's time to collect the debt. Someone orders him to stop. Another man approaches, again commanding both to step back. Analyzing closely, he realizes he's dealing with Gino and can't understand why he's on his knees. Old Chen celebrates, thinking he's saved. Still confident, he states that even though he's a martial artist, he's worthless before the authorities. Looking more closely, the man notices old Ming also lying on the ground, astonished by everything the boy has accomplished. Chen approaches Gino and grabs him by the hair. Reporting to the officer, he explains the man attempted to assault a woman but was fortunately stopped. Even so, the officer orders him to let go, threatening to shoot if he doesn't comply. The officer is revealed to be a woman. The protagonist finds it impressive. Once again, he says it's a personal matter and would be better if the officer stayed out of it. Still trying to control the situation, the policewoman orders him to raise his hands, giving a final warning while pointing a gun. Frustrated, Yi wonders what the problem is and if they don't have anything better to do. Sun Yi grabs her friend's hands, apologizes, and says he'll stop. Approaching, she gives orders for the conflict to end. The boy remains confused. Directly, she says if it doesn't end here, she'll stop him herself, asking him to listen. Trying to defend him, Sun Yi pleads with police not to shoot, explaining her friend has surrendered. When asked if they need to wait for handcuffs, she tells her friend not to worry. They'll go to the station to give statements and everything should be fine. The security room is shown. In conversation with the captain, an officer says he's watched the hotel security footage at least 10 times. However, part of the content was deleted, though remaining footage shows Yi acting in self-defense. The missing footage catches the woman's attention. She asks what exactly is gone. The file shows Gino with an elder beside him. In the next frame, the martial artist is already on the ground with no information about what happened. The policewoman is puzzled. They arrived quickly, and no one could have deleted footage so fast. She believes someone very powerful backs the boy. Lacking sufficient evidence, she concludes it was self-defense and orders the boy's release. Celebrating her friend's freedom, Sun Yi says she was right. Being free is better. She adds she plans to shower when home to wash off the bad luck. Reflecting on what happened, the young man considers Gino and his son hidden dangers to the girl. He thinks he'll need time to settle the score. Meanwhile, Sun Yi observes her friend, stating she feels he has a dangerous, indescribable aura. Noticing her gaze, he asks why she's acting that way. Trying to disguise her thoughts, she says she was thinking about taking him home and asks where he lives. He explains he recently arrived and, having not found a place, will have to sleep in the park. With sympathy, she suggests he sleep at her house, saying she has an extra room. The boy's thoughts overwhelm him with possibilities, and he hesitates. Impatient, Sun Yi asks again. He agrees. Even though she lets them leave, the policewoman remains thoughtful. Considering the Chen family's bodyguards are all special forces soldiers, she can't understand how they couldn't defeat the boy. Realizing she can't handle this alone, she decides to call her older brother for help. She says she'll send a video and needs help identifying a person. The mountains of Siberia are introduced. The policewoman's brother is working out, thinking she's always restless about family business and constantly needs help solving problems. At least he's captain of the Dragon Spirit Command Unit, not just a simple policeman. He grabs the tablet and decides to check what his sister sent. Watching security footage, he remarks it's shameful for Special Forces veterans to intimidate a boy. Looking closer, he wonders if one is an ancient martial artist. Seeing the boy up close, the brother concludes he's not an ordinary martial artist. He quickly calls his sister, saying he wants all information about the video as soon as possible. An apartment is shown. Sun Yi comes out of the shower, says she's finished, and tells Yi he can wash up. Assessing the situation, the protagonist thinks the woman is really carefree. He goes to shower. While cleaning himself, the young man reflects he was saved 5 years ago by his master and thought it a blessing, but it turned out to be the start of a nightmare. On the first day, without explanation, the old man locked him in a cage with a hungry tiger to fight. Surviving, he was promoted. Then the old man taught him to cultivate. After that, he was taken to dangerous places to face deadly challenges. He faced death head-on on several occasions. Endless rage and hatred kept him alive until now. Finally, he explains he'll find everyone who participated in the meeting at Cloud Lake Villa back then. In conclusion, he threatens they'll all pay dearly. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Sun Yi reflects she has no other clothes for the boy. Talking about clothes, she realizes she forgot to hide the underwear she changed out of. Panicking, she exclaims he must not see them. Quickly, she opens the bathroom door, asks him to step out, saying she needs to grab something, but she's interrupted. Without clothes, the young man stands in the bathroom and asks what she needs. Embarrassed, the girl is left speechless. The protagonist asks if she couldn't wait until he had something on. Blushing with shame, Sun Yi says she's leaving and apologizes, insisting she didn't mean to take advantage. She lies on the bed, repeating to herself she saw nothing. On the other side, he tries to understand what happened, reflecting she probably won't leave her room anytime soon. But he has other matters to handle, eliminating evil at its root. The Chen family villa is introduced. Gino sits at the table, visibly irritated. His son asks him to stop trembling, saying it's scaring him. Harshly, the man hits his son, saying if not for him, old Ming wouldn't be greatly injured. Trying to defend himself, the boy says they still have his grandfather. Even so, Gino says he doesn't feel safe and won't rest until he's eliminated. But tomorrow they'll go to Mount Wu to ask the old man's help. Fang celebrates, saying once the protagonist is defeated, he'll steal Sun Yi for himself and torture the girl in front of his opponent. Someone approaches after hearing Sun Yi's name and asks if the young man dares touch her. Startled, it's the protagonist, declaring they need to talk more about what happened. The man asks if he wants to kill him. Unleashing power, Chen asks if they truly believe that. Trembling, the boy says yes. Purple light touches Fang's neck directly. The protagonist asks again if they think he wouldn't dare kill someone. Once more, he asks if the boy still believes that. Gino panics seeing his injured son, saying he holds no grudge for what happened. Mocking, Yi remarks it's funny for the man to claim there's no grudge. He decides to ask the Chen family patriarch a question. Going back in time, he asks if the man remembers the banquet at Cloud Lake Village 5 years ago and the couple killed. Quickly, Gino realizes who the boy before him is as he takes a hard blow to the face. The man says it's impossible the young man was supposed to be dead. Chen states he'll reveal a secret. He's not an ancient martial artist, but a cultivator. He continues, explaining that for practitioners like him, even with a powerful master, an entire clan of martial artists is insignificant. In one swift move, he unleashes power toward the man, causing him to fall. The scene shifts back to Mount Wu. A man levitates over the mountain Chanyanwu. He receives massive power. Quickly, he realizes his son and grandson have been killed and questions who dared destroy the family. Without hesitation, the elder swears to the heavens he'll find the killer, slay them, and cut them to pieces. Far away, Yi Chen also floats in the air, surrounded by fire while cultivating. He thinks China's spiritual energy is very poor and insufficient for his needs. To cultivate properly, he needs pills. But before that, he plans to visit his parents' graves on Tiandan Mountain, as their death anniversary is in a week. The boy clutches a stone, saying it was a gift from his father when he turned 11. Though it seems ordinary, looking closer, he notices words written on it. Though unclear, the boy realizes the stone requires a drop of blood to identify its owner. He places a drop on it. Suddenly, something happens, startling him. He says he's very tired and can't take it anymore. A mound with several gravestones is shown. The young man lies on the ground. Still shirtless and dirty, he complains of a headache. Observing the area, he notices dark mist. Something catches his attention and scares him. Desperate, he wonders what kind of place this is. Looking around, he senses great energy. A strange being appears, saying it doesn't understand how a mere human in the final stage of Foundation establishment dared enter the cemetery of reincarnation. The monster continues, stating even if the young man wanted to, he wouldn't be capable of awakening even the weakest gravestones. Threatening, the being says if the boy doesn't want to die, he must leave immediately. Yi Chen wakes up startled, finding himself in bed. He gets up, confused about what just happened. His first thought is the stone. The elder said it was an ancient treasure. Thinking deeply, he recalls the being's words that he'll only be able to summon the great powers of the gravestones once he reaches a certain power level. There are 100 gravestones in the cemetery of reincarnation, meaning 100 great powers. Sun Yi knocks, asking if Chen is awake. It's her, saying lunch is ready and he should eat before it gets cold. Quickly, he says he's coming. The cemetery of reincarnation continues echoing in his mind. Later, he sits at the table to eat. Sun Yi jokes that since she treats him so well, he should offer his own body to warm her bed in winter. Good-humored, she says she doesn't need it since the house has underfloor heating, but if he really wants to stay, it's not impossible, he just needs to pay rent and take care of his own chores. Without money, he says he can't pay rent. The girl grows frustrated. The protagonist grabs paper and starts writing. He hands it to his friend, who looks confused. He claims it's a recipe for a skincare product, and with it, rent won't be an issue. Sun Yi remains puzzled. With a plan in mind, he says the group she works for is a cosmetics company, and if she shows them the recipe, it could be worth over 10 million. The phone starts ringing. The girl realizes it's Miss Zia. Hearing the name, he becomes thoughtful. Sun Yi is called to a meeting and says she's heading there. She bids her friend farewell, saying she's in a hurry but advises him to look for a job. Chen remarks he'd heard Chinese medicine was disappearing but didn't think it was true. Later in the city center, someone sells a marvelous bone rejuvenator, offering a 20% discount to first buyers. The treatment promises to cure all diseases for just 100,000 yuan. It's Yi Chen selling the product using a megaphone. People gather but claim he's crazy for the absurd price, suggesting they call the police. Realizing the risk, the boy decides to move his business elsewhere and asks people to clear the way. A girl appears and asks him to follow her. A house is introduced. With pink hair, the girl says it's her home. The boy remarks it's very large. He assures her not to worry and promises to ensure her family is cured quickly. She clarifies she didn't bring him to heal anyone. Instead, it was because of his ability to lie and deceive. He defends himself, saying he's neither a liar nor a fraud. Moreover, he explains he doesn't have time for games and suggests she find someone else. However, she hands him a card with 100,000 yuan. With money in hand, the boy agrees to do whatever the young lady wants. She explains her father is very ill with only days to live, and she fears her mother might do something irrational if the worst happens. The girl asks him to take her father to a doctor and pretend they're going to the mountains before he dies, helping her mother cope with the loss. Yi Chen thinks this isn't the proper use of him, but since he's already there, it's different. He accepts the mission and promises to complete it successfully. Laughing, the girl says if he hadn't agreed, she'd have called the police. Someone opens the door, asking if the young lady has returned. The person questions whether she brought strangers into the house, but she assures them there's nothing to worry about. Both head to the girl's father's room. She introduces herself as Jia, saying she just got back. Yi Chen assesses the situation, realizing no medicine could save the old man. The girl cries as death's energy has completely filled his chest. Once it reaches his head, not even an immortal could save him. Explaining, Jia says her father was diagnosed with advanced lung cancer, and doctor stated he only had days to live. Holding the protagonist's hands, she pleads for help, promising financial support. Shen Wen approaches the girl's mother. She asks if it's true the girl's father doesn't have much time left. Jia is upset, having agreed with the doctor not to tell her mother about her father's condition. Shen Long appears, saying she shouldn't have lied to their mother. The man claims he's already organized the funeral and promises a proper burial for their father. Jia revolts, saying he had no right to act that way. Coldly, Ming Long says he can't stand seeing their father suffer anymore and won't mistreat his sister once he takes on family responsibilities. Crying heavily, the mother says she can't survive without her husband and will die alongside him. Yi Chen quickly realizes what's happening when Hua dies. The inheritance will be divided, and the brother intends to kill his own mother. Furious, the girl asks if her brother wants to kill their mother, accusing him of not caring about their sick father. An argument erupts. the brother threatens to rip his sister's mouth off. To defend the girl, Chen punches Ming Long in the mouth. The young man falls to the ground. The mother is shocked. Intervening, the butler asks who the boy is and if he knows the man will be head of the Shen family in days. Chen raises his fingers, saying he can save the patient if they pay him 100 million. Everyone is deeply saddened by the patriarch's condition. Desperate, the mother asks if the protagonist is truly the right person to save Hua. Jijia reassures her, saying she's known the boy for a long time. Angry, Ming Long doesn't believe the story and accuses his sister of hiring a fraud to divide their father's inheritance. He threatens her, saying it'll be her fault if their father dies and he'll send Chen to jail. The protagonist observes the old man lying on the bed at death's door. With all this energy, the boy says the old man is lucky to have found him. The master taught him a technique that can heal him and bring him back from the brink of death. Activating his powers, the boy calls upon the spirits and monsters of heaven and earth, commanding them to begin healing the elder. Chen continues chanting while Hua is enveloped by purple energy. Quickly, the old man begins emitting power from his eyes, mouth, and nose. The protagonist realizes the death energy has been blocked. However, one vein remains. If he can block it, he might save the elderly man's life. The immense energy continues surrounding the elder as Chen maintains his affirmations. Suddenly, the death energy completely leaves the man's body. The protagonist commands it to shatter. With hands extended, he releases another surge of great power. Floating in the air, the old man expels all energy from his mouth, nose, and eyes. He collapses back onto the bed. Exhausted, the protagonist reflects he didn't expect to expend so much energy saving the man and realizes he needs more practice. He leaves the room and informs the family the elder should wake soon, shocking everyone as he's truly saved him. Chen tells them they can see for themselves what he's done and asks for payment, which the family matriarch hands him via card. Disbelieving, Ming Long tells his mother it's impossible for the elder to be healed, he has terminal cancer. It doesn't make sense. The protagonist explains he's saved the man, and the 10 million is his payment. But the boy insists on seeing results first. Determined, the protagonist forbids him from entering the room, saying the elder will awaken but only in 3 days. Gripping and pinning the boy down, Chen twists his arm and slams him to the ground. He holds up the card, declares he'll take the money, and asks them to call him in 3 days. He mentions he'll need to administer medicine to Hua. Ming Long grows furious, claiming a bastard not only assaulted him but also stole his money, threatening to call police. Jijia glances to the side. Something catches her attention. Suddenly, the father rises and walks out of the room, leaving everyone in shock. Desperate, the brother can't comprehend how this is possible. Hua asks where the doctor who healed him is. He calls for his wife and daughter, thanking them for the miracle, saying he feels much better. The elder remarks his son has done many good things recently for the family's safety, but then surprises everyone by saying he knows exactly what the boy did while he was ill. He declares he won't give him a single cent, and if not for the doctor, the son would have let him die. Meanwhile, at the Homai Group building, a meeting is underway. Everyone is concerned as the company's shares are plummeting, posing a major problem. They worry about the company's future, knowing it'll go bankrupt unless they launch something innovative. Sun Yi approaches the meeting room and overhears the discussion. While everyone debates what to do, the girl remains deep in thought. Suddenly, she feels something in her bra and remembers the note Yi Chen left earlier. She can't understand how it ended up there, but it mentions something about a beauty pill. Reading it, she decides to dismiss it, thinking the formula might be worth around 10 million. Someone sneaks up behind her and grabs the note from her hand. A woman in a red dress seizes it and asks what the girl was hiding in her bra. She reads the note and questions what this beauty pill is supposed to be. Annoyed, Sun Yi demands sooner return the paper, but the woman mocks her, stating the note was given by a fraudster yet is being treated as treasure. Mocking further, she asks if the girl slept with someone to get it. Sun Yi decides to confront her, accusing Suna of being the one who sells her body, and orders her again to return the paper. Suna refuses, saying she'll throw it away, and begins tearing it up. Sun Yi is left speechless. After a moment of silence, she decides to yell, declaring the woman can't intimidate people like that. Even if it's just paper, it belongs to her. She slaps her opponent. The argument escalates as other executives watch, growing concerned. Both Sun Yi and Suna begin pulling each other's hair and shouting insults while fiercely arguing. One threatens the other with death while remaining associates try to break up the fight. Suddenly, the door opens. The blonde young woman observes the scene and calls out to the two fighting girls. It's Xia Luoxu, the company's president, furious about the argument. When she arrives, the two young women stop, surprised. With the atmosphere calmer, the meeting begins. The president starts discussing the reason for the gathering. She explains other companies are creating excellent products, while Homai has remained stagnant for a long time. Associates attempt to explain but are left speechless. Xia points out that for 3 whole years, products have seen no progress, which is the core problem. Trying to defend themselves, employees explain they've worked tirelessly in recent years, but the industry is highly competitive. They claim to have traveled the world searching for new formulas but found few options. The president acknowledges formulas are indeed extremely rare. She shares that she spent 5 years building the group she now owns to support her parents and insists now is not the time to give up. Looking to undermine her opponent, Suna says Sun Yi might have the solution in her hands since she possesses paper referencing the beauty pill. One associate is shocked, noting the formula was believed lost to ancient times. They celebrate, saying if the young woman truly has the formula, the company will be saved. Xia asks if the story is true, if she really has the means to create the pill. Embarrassed, Sun Yi says no, that it's just something someone wrote down. Even so, the president asks to see the paper. She hands it over, torn into pieces, and apologizes, saying it was just a joke from a friend. Confused, associates question how such a valuable formula could have been written on mere paper. Suna celebrates, making the other young woman look foolish. Suddenly, one associate interrupts and asks everyone to wait while grabbing a piece. He examines the scrap and says it's something real. The meeting continues. Completely furious, the man claims he saw Suna tear the paper and accuses her of jeopardizing the company as the formula was urgently needed. Beside himself, the director yells the woman should no longer remain in the meeting room, and if they can't recover the formula, she'll face legal consequences. Trying to defend herself, she says she didn't know it was real and didn't mean to do it. Everyone becomes desperate upon realizing the formula was genuine and recovering it could lead to many new products. Without wasting time, Xia orders everyone to help Director Sun Yi collect the paper pieces to recover the recipe. Someone calls out for Suna. It's Director Xia, furious, demanding to know why the young woman tore the paper out of Sun Yi's hands. Making a decision, she fires the director, stating she'll demote her to working as a clerk at the company's newest store. Later, night falls. Sun Yi returns home and calls out to Chen, announcing her return, but notices the boy isn't there. Reflective, she admits she hadn't thought the formula was real. Then she wonders whether her friend hasn't returned or if he won't come back at all. She keeps thinking about him. He's incredibly strong and writes secret recipes. Quickly, she realizes he's a stranger and wonders how she allowed him into her home. The young woman continues reflecting, wondering if once she discovers his true identity, he'll disappear. A hand reaches out and touches the girl's head. It's Yi Chen, saying he heard her calling him. Startled, Sun Yi asks when her friend returned. He replies he came back recently and heard her say his name. He sits next to the girl, who seems nervous and stammers. Chen asks why she's acting that way. Awkwardly, she apologizes for tearing up the recipe he gave her. Calmly, the protagonist says that recipe was something for beginners and asks if she'd like something more potent, leaving her shocked. Tired, he announces he's going to bed early, but Sun Yi interrupts, saying she has something to ask. He decides to listen but repeats he's very tired. Quickly, she says she remembered meeting him when he wanted to see Miss Zia, and after the meeting, the woman stated she also wanted to see him. Disgusted, the boy says he's unavailable. Sun Yi doesn't understand, pointing out he even offended the entire security department just to see the woman. He doesn't understand, commenting he was ignored the day before, but now she wants to help him. The girl tries to explain, but Chen agrees to meet Zia. However, he says he'll decide at the moment whether or not to meet the company's president. Tired, he shuts the bedroom door, says he's going to sleep, and that they'll talk the next day. Elsewhere, the phone rings. It's Sun Yi on the line. Mr. Zia answers and asks what Yi said about the matter. She's informed she should personally go and meet the boy. She says it's not a problem and she'll think about it. But in the meantime, she asks her friend to keep an eye on the boy. Thoughtfully, she finds it interesting the protagonist caused a scene at the office and is now behaving this way. The next day at dawn, a meeting hall is introduced. Yi stands before it, observing the place. He notes the largest pharmacy is inside. He enters and notices the long queue, deciding to take a stroll first and analyze the surroundings. Something catches the protagonist's attention, a piece of art that leaves him momentarily paralyzed. The boy examines the artwork and comments that for a replica, it's not bad. Someone approaches and asks where he came from. Zhu Ren and Zhu Zixuan are introduced. The young lady asks how the boy dared say this treasure is a replica. Ren asks his granddaughter not to be rude, but she defends herself, claiming the boy said the paintings were fake. The elder then asks the young man how he could say such a thing, as the paintings were evaluated by many collectors. Unfazed, the boy responds this only proves all the collectors don't know what they're talking about. He maintains his opinion the painting is an excellent imitation. He thinks he might have found something valuable in the shop, but concludes it's not true. Irritated by his words, Zixuan calls out to the boy. Her grandfather tries to stop her, but she says she'll teach the protagonist a lesson. Chen observes the girl. She runs toward him and attempts to kick. Ren panics because he knows his granddaughter practices martial arts and could kill the boy. As she attempts the kick, Chen catches her foot midair. He mocks her, asking if that's all she can do. Zixuan believes it's impossible she was stopped. He continues holding the girl's foot, and she calls him a pervert for holding on so long. Without hesitation, the boy throws the girl to the ground. The protagonist comments he never expected to encounter a martial artist there and remarks her art is more suited for men than women. Zixuan grows angrier and vows not to let him leave. Her grandfather asks her to stop. She tries to argue, but Ren interrupts, saying the boy just blocked her kick, which is astonishing. Undeterred, she tries to justify herself, claiming she was caught off guard. He decides to ask the young lady a question. He inquires if she uses true Kai in such a way as great energy emanates from his back. With the force, the girl falls to the ground, finding it impossible to believe what she's witnessing. Quickly, she tells her grandfather to run, realizing the boy is very dangerous. But Ren apologizes and explains his granddaughter doesn't recognize danger, adding she's still just a child. The elder asks Zixuan to quickly apologize. He then requests the young man explain why the painting is fake, as he sees no clues. He releases a surge of power toward the painting, stating now everyone will see. Some signatures appear on the artwork. The boy explains it's difficult to distinguish from a genuine canvas, and that's why imitators avoid using just those signatures. Someone interrupts, announcing Mr. Yi's requested herbs have arrived. The boy thanks Miss Yu for delivering the order personally. She says it's an honor to serve him and asks if he has enough money to pay. Chen remarks she's flexible but admits he still likes her unruly demeanor from earlier. Irritated, she retorts the boy is insufferable, and if her master were present, he'd be in trouble. But Ren reprimands his granddaughter, saying the boy's strength is not below that of her master. The young woman is startled and hides behind her grandfather, who comments she has been spoiled. Concluding the conversation, the elder mentions the boy's order is far greater than the quantity of herbs in the shop, and he'll need to wait a few days. The boy says it's not a problem and he'll pay with the fortune he received. He adds he'll return in a few days to collect what's missing. After the boy leaves, Ren tells his granddaughter the boy is a member of the Yi family. She wonders how her grandfather knows his name, but the old man thinks if he really is who he claims to be, the city will no longer know peace. Chen walks through the city, thinking the anniversary of his parents' death is approaching. He decides to make some preparations. However, he believes there's a mole that needs to be dealt with first. At the pharmacy, Zixuan is incredulous the boy is stronger than her master. Her grandfather corrects her, saying he's far stronger than the master. The young woman is even more shocked. Ren begins explaining what the boy represents. For people like him, ordinary humans are nothing more than ants. Even so, the girl doesn't believe it and asks how someone as young as her could be a great master. Once again, her grandfather corrects her, saying he's not a great master but something far more terrifying, and the Zhu family can't afford to be his enemy. In the street, a man follows Yi, assuming he's the doctor Mr. Shen is looking for. He thinks if he follows him properly, he might earn the reward. Chen enters an alley. The pursuer wonders if he's been discovered. Looking around, the man is confused as Yi has disappeared. As he questions where the boy went, he doesn't notice he's suddenly descending from above. The protagonist touches the pursuer's head and asks if he was looking for him. Irritated, Chen demands a reason not to kill him. The man promises to explain everything. He introduces himself as Fan Tomon, a private detective, and starts sharing details about his life. Chen becomes even more irritated, saying he doesn't care about that and wants to know who sent him. The detective explains Shen Hua placed a 1,000,000 yuan bounty on finding the boy. Pensive, the protagonist realizes if there's no treatment within 3 days, the old man will die. Trying to make a deal, the detective suggests the boy present himself to Hua and split the reward. Unmoved, the boy says if the old man wants to survive, he shouldn't use tricks. Fan tries to interrupt. Impatient, Chen asks if there's anything else to add. On his knees, the pursuer confesses Shen hired him because he didn't know where to find the boy. A building is introduced. Sun Yi appears. The boy starts wondering why the girl suddenly began dressing so well. She explains she's taking him shopping for new clothes and a phone so they can stay in contact. He finds all of this troublesome. Trying to reassure him, the girl says not to worry about money, she'll buy the clothes for him. The two are at the mall. The protagonist tries on some outfits. Happy, Sun Yi says the boy looks much more handsome when well dressed. She adds he might get attention from girls if he walks like that on campus, which irritates him. Still trying to learn more about him, Sun Yi asks if he wants a girlfriend and offers to introduce him to someone. Realizing the situation, she asks if he's never dated and if he's an innocent virgin. Meanwhile, he reflects that in recent years, he's done nothing but cultivate. But before his family's downfall, he had liked a girl. At that time, he sent her a love letter and received a response. The girl said she'd go out with him if he declared his love publicly, and so he did. But she rejected him in front of everyone. Since then, he became self-destructive and seen as a failure by others. He remains immersed in thoughts and memories. Unintentionally, he starts to cultivate. Sun Yi notices her words have hurt his self-esteem. Trying to fix the situation, the girl says she's also never dated but is still alive and doing fine. Tired of the conversation, the boy tells her to stop the nonsense and focus on buying clothes. The two continue through the mall until someone recognizes Sun Yi. A red-haired woman greets the girl, saying she hasn't seen her in years and asking if she got a boyfriend. Quickly, Chen recognizes the pair. Mockingly, the woman remarks Sun Yi's taste hasn't changed. She used to hang out with Yi Chen in school, and now her boyfriend is still poor and unsuccessful. Looking closely at the boy, the woman says he seems familiar and resembles the loser from the Yi family. The man accompanying her says he doesn't know the story and asks them to tell it. The girl explains, concluding the boy never returned to school, and later his family was exterminated. Those words stir Chen's thoughts, and he begins cultivating again. Irritated, he says he'll make the woman remain silent forever. Noticing this, Sun Yi grabs her friend by the arm. She asks him to let it go and suggests they continue shopping for clothes. But the woman doesn't give up and keeps provoking, calling the pair beggars. She then tells her companion she also wants to buy clothes. As they leave, Chen remarks he could have dealt with it too, but Sun Yi reminds him of the police station incident a few days ago. The two come across a suit that seems to fit the boy perfectly. A saleswoman interrupts, saying it's the best jacket in the store, priced at 360,000 yuan. Thoughtfully, the girl reflects she only has 300,000 on her card, so she tells her friend the outfit doesn't suit him that well. Overhearing their conversation, the woman appears laughing, saying the young woman doesn't have the money and doesn't need to make excuses. Sun Yi tries to defend herself, saying if she's going to pay, it should be for something that matches. The woman continues mocking the situation and mentions the illness of the girl's brother, prompting her to step forward angrily. The woman says her best friend is Chuan, and if she's attacked, her aggressor won't be able to stay in Jing. She keeps provoking, daring Sun Yi to hit her. Before Sun Yi could do anything, Yi Chen intervenes and slaps the woman, causing her to fall. The boy resumes cultivating and says the woman was right in wanting to stay silent forever. Everyone is shocked. Getting up from the ground, the woman asks how the boy dared hit her and if he knows who her best friend and boyfriend are. Chen says he doesn't care to know. Filming the incident, the boyfriend intervenes, claiming to be the CFO of the Beimu Group, earning 5 million a year. The protagonist simply thinks it's extreme arrogance. At that moment, Shen Hua enters the shopping mall talking with his son. Noticing the situation, he intervenes, asking who is using the Beimu Group's name to pressure Dr. Yi. Shocked, the man doesn't know what to say to the company president. Sun Yi doesn't understand why someone so important would be there and fears that if they support Chen, the consequences could be unimaginable. The woman and her boyfriend start flattering Shen, saying they admire him. Shen ignores them and walks toward Yi. He takes the boy's hands and says he's been searching for him for a long time, and if he hadn't found him, his heart would have been broken. The woman doesn't understand why Hua is trying to please the boy. Sun Yi also doesn't understand how her friend knows someone so powerful in the city. During their conversation, the boy says he wasn't valued by the man's family. Shen replies he's already taught them a lesson. He orders his son to come forward, kneel, and apologize. Following his father's orders, the boy complies and sincerely apologizes for what happened that day. Confused, the man remarks he's never seen Ming Long kneeling and apologizing to anyone. Everyone wonders about Yi's past. Breaking away from the situation, the boy calls for Sun Yi and says he's going to buy some clothes for her. But Hua doesn't want to let him leave. No one understands how he dares ignore Shen. They're even more puzzled by what just happened. The elder, on the other hand, scolds his son, saying if he doesn't earn the man's forgiveness, he'll have to kneel for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, the company director approaches and claims it was all a misunderstanding. Angry, Shen questions how the man dared offend Mr. Yi using the company's name, declaring that as of today, he's fired. Hua thinks his life is in the boy's hands and fears death. The woman realizes she has offended a great man and tries to make amends. Elsewhere, Sun Yi celebrates the clothes the boy bought for her, wondering how he managed since he had little money. Even so, she thanks him for the gesture. He thinks the girl only chose discounted items, believing he had no money, and concludes she's a good woman. At the mall exit, Chen appears, saying he's there for Sun Yi. He says he's sorry for the insults the young woman endured and asks her to accept the gifts as an apology, leaving her embarrassed. Upon inspecting the gifts more closely, she realizes they are the clothes she liked but didn't buy because of their price. Chen notices the old man is trying to win over the girl to get closer to him. He finds this interesting. Quickly, the boy calls out to Hua. He states he'll give the man one last chance, and at exactly 9 a.m., he'll be at the Shen family's house, where he can either save or end the man's life. Grateful, the old man says it will be an honor to assist the young man. A mansion is introduced. Speaking with Xia Luoxu, her friend says it's true this boy is indeed Yi Chen. She notes his personality has changed significantly, but his appearance is identical and the name is the same. Hearing the story, her friend asks if it's true the boy has returned. The woman says she's dealt with Shen Hua before, describing him as very sophisticated and respectful. She adds she doesn't understand how he could bow before a young man, concluding the boy must be very powerful or hold a high position. Thoughtful, Xia remarks that even if he'd survived, he was a fool, and the old man would never bow before him. Hurt, the woman tries to convince her friend this is indeed the same Yi Chen. Unmoved, the girl says 5 years ago, his family groveled before hers. Metropolitan apartments are introduced. There are many gift boxes on the floor. Sun Yi asks her friend when he met Mr. Shen, remarking on how incredible the situation is. Noticing his friend's joy, the boy smiles. The young woman asks again if Chen is sure he doesn't want to meet Xia Luoxu. To convince him, she says the woman is very beautiful and she doesn't understand how he can resist. But he gets irritated and says he's going to watch TV. The news reports 2 male bodies have been found in a mansion. The victims have been identified as Chen Jino and his son Chen Feng. The crime is considered premeditated murder. Hearing this, Sun Yi is surprised, but Chen interrupts, saying death is normal. The boy continues, stating he's a great killer. Sun Yi asks him not to say such nonsense. Turning away, the girl says she's going to try on some clothes and leaves. He becomes reflective, remarking nowadays no one believes the truth anymore. He goes out at night, stating he needs to get some supplies from a Chinese pharmacy. During the night, something catches his attention. A woman approaches and greets him. It's the policewoman. She celebrates having found the boy again. Chen believes she's trouble and should avoid getting involved. Looking to escape, he says he's very busy and can't talk. But with a trick up her sleeve, the woman asks what happened to the Chen family and whether he was responsible. She then mentions the Yi family, causing the boy to stop immediately. Slightly, the policewoman says she never imagined someone as strong as him could be just trash from the Yi family. The boy gets irritated and asks what she means while grabbing her by the neck. She says there are some things she can't say at the moment, but asks to have a meal with him. Losing patience, Chen releases the woman and says the meal isn't necessary. As he walks away, the policewoman thinks the boy is too young to practice ancient martial arts and couldn't possibly be this strong. Back home, the protagonist is in the kitchen. He separates herbs and stones into bowls. The young man decides to use the microwave to make some pills, but the plan proves more difficult than anticipated. Upon opening the microwave door, the boy celebrates that he managed to make at least 5 pills. He notes this is more than enough to treat Shen Hua. In the apartment, Sun Yi wakes up in the morning. As she opens her eyes, she notices something. He is leaving the house. She asks where he's going. Quickly, the boy replies he's going to save lives and tells her to call if anything happens. As soon as he leaves, the girl says her friend talks a lot of nonsense, insisting he's far from being a doctor, though she admits he might actually be good at it. She reflects and recalls the anniversary of the Yi family's death is approaching, and she'll spend it alone again. Sad, the young woman begins to wonder why the family was destroyed. Uncle Yu was fair, and Yi Chen was also kind. Far away, Ji Jia approaches a location. Two men exit the building, commenting on the girl and wondering if she's waiting for a man or a woman. One concludes a woman like her would never lower herself to waiting for a man. Yi Chen appears and tells them they're wrong, the girl would never be there waiting for them. Trying to defend themselves, the duo claims one is called the Little Prince, while the other boasts about winning over many girls in games. Angry, they ask who the boy is and what he's thinking. Mocking, the boy says Jia is waiting for him, but the two men doubt it, believing a girl that beautiful wouldn't pay attention to a loser. Noticing the man's presence, the girl calls out to Mr. Yi. She approaches and says she's been waiting for him for a long time. The protagonist apologizes for being late. The girl repeats she's been waiting for him. She asks if the young men are his friends. He denies it. She warns about the danger of strangers in the area. The two young men feel embarrassed, realizing they've been fools. Quickly, they arrive at the Shen family home. In the living room, the boy presents pills to the family patriarch. He asks if simply taking the medicine will make him well without acupuncture or decoctions. The mother interjects, suggesting surgery, saying the man can handle it. But he orders the old man to swallow all 5 pills at once. After taking them, something happens. The old man begins emitting a lot of yellow energy, surprising everyone. He feels as if his entire body is enveloped in a warm current, experiencing unparalleled relaxation. Feeling unique, the man states he's even stronger than in his youth. Once again, he thanks the boy and says he'll never forget his help. For payment this time, 100 million yuan is offered. He says there's no need for thanks. Offering even more, Hua gives him the key to an unused apartment and offers a meal at the family home. The protagonist thinks having a home would be convenient. Reflecting further, he considers the old man is part of the business circle and must know about business intelligence like the Tiangxin Group. He explains the group was founded by his father but was overtaken after the accident, and he hasn't had any information since. He accepts the house but says the dinner will be on him, and he'll decide the time and place. Quickly, he takes his leave. The warehouse at the rendezvous hall is shown. There are various sacks filled with herbs inside. Someone celebrates that Mr. Yi has finally arrived. It's Ren, saying the herbs are fresh, having just arrived. Evaluating the product, Chen says they're better than he expected, and he'll buy them all. Noticing the boy's interest, the old man says he'll charge 5 million for the product. But according to the boy's research, the ideal price would be at least tens of millions. The boy agrees to pay and asks about the old man's granddaughter. He explains Zixuan went for a walk with the master and will return later. While the protagonist writes something, he quickly tears the page out and hands it to the old man, asking him to deliver it to his granddaughter. He says she'll understand when she sees it. Ren agrees. Before leaving, Chen asks if Zun knows where he can buy an alchemy furnace in the city. He says it's very difficult to make pills on a regular stove. The information surprises Ren, who never imagined the boy knew how to make pills. He becomes thoughtful, recalling rumors that Chinese alchemists disappeared thousands of years ago, and that's why pills are extremely valuable. Ren continues explaining what it all means. Quickly, it dawns on him the herbs purchased are for alchemy, making them worth more than he could have imagined. Brushing off the questions, Chen claims he doesn't know how to refine pills and just likes collecting furnaces. The old man mentions an auction. The boy agrees, saying he'll go when the time comes. Hours later, Zixuan returns. Ren asks if his granddaughter caused trouble for the master. Irritated, the girl says she's not that type of person. The elder mentions he asked her to apologize to Yi Chen, but she ran away, which makes her even angrier. The master, upon hearing about greater power, corrects the girl, saying there are powerful people elsewhere in the world. Tired of the conversation, Ren says he won't argue with his granddaughter and hands her the note Chen gave him. Confused, the girl says she can't read it. She throws the paper, saying the handwriting is ugly and she won't read it. As the paper flies, the master grabs it and wonders if it could be beneficial for Zixuan. Glancing at the sheet, he is certain the handwriting belongs to a master. Desperate, he calls for old Zhu. He asks to be introduced to Yi Chen, whom he recognizes as a specialist. Ren grows concerned and asks what's wrong with the handwriting. Ken explains the girl's technique is the Gaoyang heart method, which he developed in his youth, but it's incomplete. He continued practicing and improved the skill significantly. However, it affects his internal organs. Zixuan understands why she feels discomfort when she practices for too long. The master reassures the girl, telling her not to be afraid, he only wants her to develop her skill. But he warns she cannot continue practicing, otherwise she may die. Worried, the grandfather asks what they can do, knowing if something happens to Liu Ken, the Zhu family will suffer. Laughing, the master says the paper is filled with incredible techniques and it's a stroke of luck Yi Chen is a noble person. Hearing this, Zixuan wonders who the boy could be for even her master to call him noble. The Daju apartment surroundings are shown. Yi evaluates the house he received from Hua. The boy is surprised to discover he's received an entire villa. He enters the residence and is amazed by the decor. Beautiful inside, the boy finds it impressive. Fully furnished, he realizes he won't need to worry about decorating. However, he feels lonely living alone in such a large place. Thoughtfully, he imagines how nice it would be if Sun Yi were there with him. The girl mentioned she needed to handle something in her hometown and would return that night. Chen admits he's worried about her. He recalls his family and how happy and harmonious they were, even while living in a small house. But now he's the only one left. The next day, he marks the anniversary of his parents' death. Once again, he vows revenge for their deaths. He declares he crawled out of darkness, reborn from suffering and blood, all for the sole purpose of driving their killers to the grave. The doorbell rings. He realizes the medicinal herbs have arrived. Stepping outside, he sees a large truck unloading the delivery. He celebrates being in the villa as it provides ample space to store the herbs. Liu calls out to him, affirming the herbs have been delivered and the boy can contact him if he needs anything else. The master appears. Chen quickly notices he is an ancient martial warrior. Politely, he invites them all inside. But first, he asks who the master is. Without hesitation, the man drops to his knees. He thanks the master for saving his life. Zixuan is surprised by the scene and doesn't quite understand what just happened. Still kneeling, the man introduces himself as the girl's master and explains about the Gaoyang mind method. Chen grows curious about what he hears. He asks why the man addressed him as Grandmaster. Confused, Liu Ken doesn't understand how such a formidable martial artist could not know what that title means. Chen explains he recently descended from the mountain, so he knows little about Chinese martial arts. Understanding the situation, the man begins elaborating on martial arts. He provides details about how they work, levels, stages, and examples. Chen listens attentively and realizes it's slightly different from what his master taught him, but he understands. The explanation continues, making the protagonist realize the power is far greater than he imagined, prompting him to ask if there are many masters in China. Liu Ken says he's unsure but explains most masters are connected to China's great families. He mentions the 4 great families of Jingchu, Zhao, Lu, and Chen. The protagonist recalls being threatened by Gino before his death and wonders when the master will come seeking vengeance. Chen's name resurfaces in his memories. Upon hearing about family once more, he vows revenge, declaring the girl will understand who is truly untouchable. Analyzing his aura, Ken notices the boy is incredibly oppressive. Terrified, the man asks how many lives the boy must have taken to achieve such a level of skill at such a young age. Later, worried about Sun Yi, he wonders why she hasn't answered her phone. He questions if something has happened to her family and decides if he doesn't hear from her, he'll go to her the next day. Feeling hungry, the boy decides to go out to eat. Looking around, he spots a restaurant owned by Wang Ying's family, an old friend from school with good memories. The boy recalls the food was incredible and he always ate there on his way to school. He enters and notices the place is empty, though it used to be bustling with customers. Even so, the boy sits down and orders some skewers and drinks. The waitress tells him she's sorry, but they are closing and won't be able to serve him. She mentions they are moving and invites him to visit the new location. He notices the woman has a bruise on her face. A man appears, asking her not to turn away customers. He hands a plate to the boy and says he can stay. It's Uncle Wang, who tells Chen he's their last customer, so he can eat whatever he wants. He too has visible injuries. Encouraged to eat, the boy decides to try the food. The aroma takes him back to his childhood. Suddenly, a chair is thrown in his direction, but he manages to shatter it with just his energy. He stands up and freezes in front of the broken object. Some men are standing at the door, mocking the boy. However, they clarify they are not looking for him and order him to leave. Wang realizes it's Mr. Kai. Angry, the man asks how Wang dares serve food to customers before paying the protection fee. Afraid, Wang explains they are closing the restaurant. He pleads for more time to pay off his debts. Without mercy, the collector accuses Wang of trying to run away, stating he already knows the address of the new location. He threatens to destroy the restaurant if they don't pay 50,000 yuan and even warns Wang will be killed. The collector orders Yi to leave again. Irritated, the protagonist asks if they are ordering him to leave. Noticing him, Kai asks if he's talking to him. The young man mocks him. Confronting, Kai moves toward him, but the boy slaps him across the face. The force of the blow sends him to the ground. Commonly, the boy asks if the man fell from just one slap. Enraged, Kai tells Yi to go to hell and tries to attack him, but another strike lands, sending the collector flying and leaving him stuck in the ceiling. The henchmen panic. Chen isn't finished and calls out the other two men. He orders them to leave immediately, otherwise he warns he won't be so generous. Quickly, the men drop to their knees and beg for forgiveness, promising not to repeat their actions. Badly injured, Kai apologizes for the trouble and promises not to bother Uncle Wang again. Even so, Chen continues threatening them, saying he doesn't want to see their group on that street anymore. The group thanks him for sparing their lives. After the incident, the boy realizes he caused a mess in the restaurant. He regrets not making the men clean up before leaving. Mr. and Mrs. Wang recognize the boy, celebrating that he's truly alive. He is surprised they remember him. Emotional, the couple says it's wonderful to see him again. The protagonist agrees, saying he has returned. Later, Chen decides to go to the apartment to check if Sun Yi is home. When he enters, he notices a young woman standing there and explains he came because she wasn't answering his calls. Before anything else, the woman turns. He realizes it's not Sun Yi. It's Zia standing right in front of him, confronting him. Even so, he asks who she is. She responds he should recognize her as he caused quite a scene in the company's lobby. He realizes she is Miss Luoxu and asks what she's doing there. The young woman explains she has the key to her best friend's house but wants to know why he's living there. The protagonist explains his situation while the girl watches him intently. Annoyed, he tells her to leave and discuss it with her friend at the company. But Zia says she hasn't been able to contact her friend and mentions Sun Yi missed an important meeting. Chen realizes something is wrong. Determined, he says he will go find his friend, believing she's in trouble. Luoxu calls out to the boy, asking why he's looking for her. But he's irritated and orders her not to follow him. Outraged, the blonde says he's the first person to speak to her like that. Quickly regaining her composure, she realizes she needs to stay calm, considering the boy is strange and holds the formula. Moreover, she concludes he could be of great help to the group. Later, Chen has already wandered through many streets of Jing and still couldn't find Sun Yi. On his own, he claims he doesn't want to get involved with his enemy but will have no other choice. The Qiulong building is introduced. An unknown number calls his phone. The man present at the location answers, asking who it is. A mysterious voice responds on the other end and asks not to be tracked. It's Chen speaking. He says he'll destroy the man if he finds out he's being followed and demands Sun Yi be found. The boy gives orders for the information to be delivered within 5 minutes. On the other end, the man reflects he's kept the phone for 3 years waiting for this call from the boy. He's referred to as the Temple Master. A few minutes later, he responds to the young man with information about Sun Yi, stating she was at the hospital with her brother and had to sell her car to pay bills. Chen feels relieved to know where she is but understands the situation is delicate. At the city's public hospital, Sun Yi is distressed, pacing back and forth. She claims to have withdrawn all her savings and sold her car, but still needs 300,000 for her brother's operation. Crying, her parents say they can't afford it and suggest borrowing from her uncle. The young woman says she doesn't want to beg her uncles, but they are the wealthiest in the family. Someone appears shouting at the hospital. It's her uncles. The girl thanks them for coming. They are shocked to see their niece again and comment on how beautiful she looks. Sun Yi's father explains the situation and pleads with them to save his son, promising to repay the money. But Yang Fu quickly says he has no money, claiming his business didn't prosper. This is a lie. The man thinks it would be a waste to lend the family money. Sun Yi tries to persuade her uncle, saying her brother will die. His wife has a plan. She reminds him he promised something to Mr. Lei that favor would be introducing someone to the magnate. She suggests offering their niece to marry the man so she can have all the money she needs. Yang Fu says he hadn't thought of that, but it's a good idea. Yang asks if Sun Yi has a boyfriend. The girl quickly says no. Dong explains there's a way to get the money and outlines the plan to introduce her to Mr. Lei. Attentively, the girl listens to everything her aunt says, but she seems completely against it. Upon hearing the word marriage, the young woman becomes nervous. The woman tries to convince her, speaking of the bright future she would have. Sun Yi's father intervenes, saying they are suggesting he sell his daughter. Even so, Dong doesn't give up and continues listing the pros of arranging the girl's marriage. She even uses the boy's health and the fact that he's only 14 years old to try to convince them. Saddened by the situation, the father blames himself for not having taken better care of the family and becoming wealthy earlier. Unmoved, Dong and Yang Fu dismiss his concerns, saying it's just drama and it would be good to marry someone in the family to a rich man. Suddenly, someone appears, asking who wants his girlfriend to marry someone else. Sun Yi is surprised to see Chen. He enters the scene, calling her silly and saying she hid her brother's illness from him. Once again, he claims to be her boyfriend. The girl's parents are confused as they've never heard about this young man before. Chen says the girl is shy and hugs her. Dong claims it's nonsense since the girl said she didn't have a boyfriend. Chen asks the girl to prove what he's saying. With no other option, Sun Yi decides to go along with the story. She approaches and kisses the young man. The uncle realizes the boy is indeed her boyfriend. Intimidatingly, the man states the procedure is very expensive and not everyone can afford it. But Chen doesn't care, claiming it's only 400,000 yuan, and he's already paid the hospital bill. Though they got him worried, Chen thinks he actually hasn't paid the bill yet. To get out of it, he says the amount was paid to Dr. Yi, the best doctor in the city. Suspicious, the aunt says she's never heard of the doctor and accuses the boy of talking about himself. Yi agrees, saying he is the one being referred to. The uncles laugh, thinking it's a joke. Suddenly, someone calls for Hua's relatives. It's the doctors, asking them to keep quiet in the hospital. Dr. Chu approaches. Yang Fu greets him, but the doctor brushes him aside and heads straight to Yi. The two shake hands. The doctor says he never imagined seeing the boy there after their meeting at the Shen family's house. Everyone is surprised Yi is actually a doctor. Even Sun Yi had no idea. Chen breaks into a cold sweat. He shakes the doctor's hand and asks where he knows him from. Trying to explain, X says he is from the Shen family household. The girl's parents wonder why their daughter didn't tell them before. Yu lets go of the doctor's hand and says he is not a fraud, as he initially thought he was just a charlatan. Yang Fu interrupts and asks how the doctor could call a poor boy a physician. Confused, the doctor asks who that man is. He decides to call security, asking them to take the girl's uncles away, accusing them of causing a disturbance and stating he suspects they might have rabies. With good humor, Chen praises the doctor's decision. Seeing them wind back down, he punches the man again and calls him an idiot. Suddenly, desperate about her brother, Sun Yi begs the boy to help him and promises they'll pay him for the surgery later. Realizes the patient's sister is Chen's girlfriend. He decides to help and asks them to prepare everything for the boy's surgery, saying he will perform the procedure himself. The protagonist feels proud of what he heard. To be sure, he asks if the doctor will really perform the surgery. He confirms he will. Then Chen writes down a set of acupuncture techniques on a piece of paper that should be used to enhance medical skills. Attentively, the doctor reads what was written. Before he forgets, the boy says he will also pay for the surgery. Confused, insists it isn't necessary. Suddenly, her parents are happy everything was resolved quickly, but they question who their daughter's boyfriend might be. Later, they order the young woman to go home, saying they will stay at the location. Before she leaves, her father asks to speak with her. He says that although she and the boy are a couple, there is a disadvantage in them living together. Embarrassed, the girl says she doesn't know what her father is talking about. He overhears the conversation. The girl shouts, saying it is rude that he was listening. The pair decides to head home, but the girl remembers she has no car as it was repossessed. To her surprise, Chen shows up with the car keys in hand. The cultivator's path to vengeance continues. Confused, she asks what happened. The protagonist explains he saw the car being taken and managed to recover it beforehand. Grateful, Sun Yi runs and embraces him. He strokes her hair, saying he should be the one thanking her. Curious, she asks why he's helping so much and also expressing gratitude. Mysteriously, he says she might discover the reason the next day. Sun Yi grows even more curious. Suddenly, she mentions feeling cold and wonders if the car's air conditioner is broken. Knowing what it truly is, he thinks it's bloodlust. Quickly, he asks her not to question him and to follow every word he says. Opening the car door, he tells her that when he exits, she must drive straight to the apartment without stopping for anything. Then, when she arrives home, she should take his phone and hide in her room. Finally, she must call the first number in the contacts. When they answer, she should ask them to send the strongest person from the department within half an hour. But if anyone breaks in, she must surrender. He jumps out of the car. She drives away. It's explained this is a battle between martial artists, and an ordinary human couldn't withstand it. A car approaches. He knows it's time to finish this. Two people exit the vehicle. He evaluates them, saying only one could pose a real threat. With a menacing look, a long-haired man approaches and says he can't believe someone from the Yi family is still alive. Trying to understand, Chen recalls the man's involvement in the village incident and asks if he came to kill him. Laughing, the man says the boy doesn't deserve such a thing, he's unimportant. He orders Guang King to finish off the young man. The bodyguard rushes toward the protagonist and tries to attack. With little effort, Chen kicks him, sending him flying. Watching the scene, the long-haired man calls the guard a loser. Threateningly, he says the man's death won't be as swift as his opponent's. Yo Jenu says he's curious to see how many levels Chen has reached in 5 years, but assures him he won't kill him. He explains he was the one who led the men to massacre the Yi family 5 years ago. Yo Jenu says the boy still has some skill since he defeated his opponent with a single blow. The young man with black hair questions what exactly the old man is trying to say. In response, the old man says he wants him to be his dog since his former subordinate, Guang King, was eliminated. mocking. Yi Chen says the man thinks too highly of himself, even though his kung fu is terrible. This makes his opponent even more irritated. Revealing his aura full of creatures with red eyes, the young man asks when the old man started thinking he was stronger than him. Sweating coldly, Yo Jenu feels intense pressure, one that reaches the level of a grandmaster. With a dark gaze, the boy declares he won't eliminate his opponent so quickly. Meanwhile, the man thinks it's impossible for someone so young to have so much power. After all, he himself has been practicing for 40 years and still hasn't reached that rank. With trembling hands, he questions why his body is acting this way. Forcing himself to stay strong and not retreat, he activates his power, saying he doesn't know what dark power the young man used to reach that level, but his experience cannot be compared to the boy's. Yi Chen keeps a steady gaze as his opponent launches into an attack, shouting he will defeat him once and for all. The man's claws pass right in front of his eyes, but Yi dodges nimbly. He counterattacks, initiating a power struggle. The young man ends up with scratched hands. His opponent says it's impressive he blocked all his strikes, but asks how much longer he can keep blocking. Looking at his injuries, the protagonist admits the man can inflict superficial wounds stronger than expected. He underestimated him, but mockingly, he asks what those scratches can really do. With disdain, the man is surprised by the young man's words. However, noticing his own injuries, he realizes one of his fingers is broken. Smiling slightly, the young man, once again radiating his powerful aura, asks if this is the experience Yo Jenu mentioned earlier. Launching an aerial attack, he shouts the old man will pay his debt with his own blood tonight. Looking up, the man questions how the boy dares attack him like that. He notices the young man's excessive confidence stems from his youth, but he believes the boy has nowhere to hide in the air and just needs to concentrate all his energy into one hand. Releasing his counterattack, he severely injures the boy's legs. Laughing, the old man asks how the boy will fight him in that condition. But his happiness is short-lived. It was all an illusion created by Chen using dark spirits. Terrified, he questions if such a high level of power is really possible. Meanwhile, the boy merely whispers as he attacks his opponent from behind, making the old man realize too late what was happening. After finishing the attack, Yi Chen proudly says it was worthy of a master. Mocking his enemy, now with his face pressed against the asphalt, he comments on how tough the man's forehead is. Injured, the old man retorts, saying what happened is impossible. Grabbing him by the hair, the young master lifts the man and states that if he answers his questions, his life will be spared. He then asks how the man knows about his existence and how many others have this information. Begging, the man says he will answer everything if he's allowed to leave alive. Angrily, the boy questions whether he thinks he's in any position to make a deal. Yo Jenu then reveals that some time ago, he discovered someone had information about the boy in a dark web database, which prompted him to investigate further. Upon checking, he noticed the resemblance between the boy and the deceased Yi Chen was remarkably high, which led him to confront the young man. He doesn't like leaving threats unchecked, especially because the Dragon Master said the Yi family could not remain alive. With his foot pressing against his opponent's back, the boy then asks for the Dragon Master's name, where to find him, and whether he knows he's alive. The man lets out a small laugh but responds, claiming not to know the master's name. He says all families, including those in the capital, must refer to him by that title. He doesn't know his location either. Yi Chen then asks if the man lacks the authority to speak directly to the Dragon Master. The man confirms this. Reflecting, the boy then asks if the master wanted to destroy his family because his father offended him. In response, his opponent says the only thing he knows is that the master was looking for something, and the trail led directly to the Yi family. Thinking to himself, the young man wonders if what the master is looking for could be the stone his father gave him. He fears what the Dragon Master truly desires is the cemetery of reincarnations, which lies within the stone. letting out a laugh. Yo Jenu, still on the ground, says his henchmen are at Sun Yi's apartment, so he cannot harm him if he wants to save her. Pressing harder on the man's head and eliminating him, the boy repeats that he is in no position to negotiate with him. The young woman, meanwhile, finds herself running breathlessly home as Chen instructed. Suspicious, she feels someone is following her. She decides to quicken her pace to get into the apartment. Closing the door, sweaty and exhausted, she says she cannot rest yet because she must quickly go to the boy's room and use his phone to make a call. A man answers. The young woman introduces herself, gives her address, and says Yi Chen instructed him to send the strongest people to the location within half an hour. Outside the building, a group of men prepares to enter. One of them, wearing a black and red mask, says they need to be quick, adding that any witnesses spotted must be eliminated immediately. In the room, the purple-haired young woman asks if someone is on the line. Repeating what she said earlier, she urges the person to hurry because someone is coming. The man on the line responds with a simple okay and ends the call. Sun Yi then wonders if she called the police, praying that whoever arrives will help her. At the Q-Long building, the man who ended the call wonders who was on the other end, stating that anyone who dares to touch his master is his enemy. Furious, he shouts for someone to come to his presence. Guards resembling ninjas appear swiftly and ask him to give the order. He then orders them to go to Jing and warns that if anything happens to the woman who called, they will face consequences. The guards respond with a firm, "Yes, master." Turning his back, he commands them to prepare the helicopter as he will also go. A subordinate then reminds him the final negotiation with the 6 families is scheduled for the next day, adding that the situation in Jiangnan province is at stake. Responding, the man instructs him to inform the others he will not attend. Concluding the conversation, he says if they are not convinced, they can meet him personally at the building. Back at the apartment, the masked man breaks down the door. Upon entering, he quickly picks up the scent of the woman. His accomplice suggests she must be hiding to avoid being found so easily, making him laugh. The young woman, sweating coldly, realizes someone is approaching her. But when she looks at the door, she notices a blue light shining and wonders what her apartment mate did to it. Outside, one of the men says if she's a good girl and comes out, her end won't be painful. But another man says that isn't what he intends to do. The group leader then appears and tells them not to finish the job, leaving everyone confused. Showing his phone, he explains he hasn't been able to contact Mr. Yo for some time, which might mean something has changed and the girl's life could be useful. But he asserts the men can still have their fun. With a malicious look, one of the creatures shouts to Sun Yi that he's coming for her. But he's caught off guard when he punches the door and nothing happens. He wonders what could have occurred because the door remains completely intact. Another man in the group says it's his turn now, while the first man still questions how that could be possible. Realizing what is happening, the leader says the door is imbued with strong Kai. Suddenly, the arm of the henchman who struck the door starts to catch fire, leaving him terrified. Feeling the burning sensation spread through his body, he screams for help. Everyone watches in shock as the man collapses to the ground in flames. Sweating coldly, they wonder if he has been eliminated. Stating he doesn't know what was done to the door, the leader says he fears it cannot be broken by brute force, explaining that if they try, they could be consumed by the malicious energy. He concludes the person their master wishes to harm doesn't seem weak at all. A subordinate then asks what they should do now. Holding tools in hand, the leader responds that if brute force doesn't work, they must use tools to unlock the door. Everyone is astonished and agrees that as professional assassins, they should carry tools like that to open doors more easily. Inside the room, someone wonders what the noise was and whether someone was actually eliminated. Crying, she hears another sound and notices the door is opening. The man peeks through the gap and, in a sinister tone, says he's coming in. Once inside the room, he is mesmerized by how beautiful the young woman is. One of the men then says that because of her, he lost one of his brothers, so she must compensate them. She pleads with him not to come closer. Behind him, the group's leader tells him not to go too far as they need her alive. Recalling Yi Chen's advice, the young woman decides to surrender while waiting for rescue. Suddenly, a dagger flies in and strikes the man directly. At the window, one of the ninjas under Yi Lin's command appears, asking how they dare lay a hand on their king. Screaming, another man shouts angrily, questioning how the ninja could do that to his brother. Meanwhile, their leader is shocked by what was said. Unbothered by who the ninja is, the masked man repeats the same question and claims the ninja lacks virtue. But suddenly, he is attacked from behind by another ninja. The leader, sweating coldly, wonders how they ended up in trouble with the king of Jing, the most terrifying being in the entire province. Surrendering immediately while being attacked, he pleads for mercy. Impressed, Sun Yi wonders if she's really safe now. Introducing themselves as Mr. Yi's people, the ninjas assure her she no longer needs to worry. The young woman then asks if they are referring to Yi Chen. Meanwhile, in the mountain cemetery, the young man carries Yo Zhenyu up the stairs. Reaching his parents' gravestone, he says it's the anniversary of their deaths, and as their son, he is there to visit them. After that, he kicks the man he defeated earlier with great force, making him crash into the gravestone, ordering him to kneel, claiming to be a great master of his generation. The old man says he will not kneel before a mere mortal, telling the boy to eliminate him once and for all. Grabbing the man's head and slamming it against the ground multiple times, Chen repeats the order. The man complies. But the boy, full of rage, says it's not enough and pushes him down, telling him to do it again and again and again and again until the man shows no signs of life. Then he says it's time to prepare the tribute. Placing the man inside a sack in front of the gravestone while drinking and speaking to his parents, he says this is his offering to them. They shouldn't worry, this is just the beginning. Swearing with red eyes, he vows everyone involved in what happened 5 years ago, including the man from the capital, will pay for what they did. At dawn, Sun Yi arrives at the cemetery carrying a bouquet of white flowers. Thinking to herself, she says the previous night was too much for her and she can't understand her roommate. She reveals that if he didn't resemble her former schoolmate who passed away, she wouldn't have accepted him. Suddenly, she notices bottles on the ground. Looking down, she finds Yi Chen sleeping in front of his parents' gravestone. He is dreaming, softly calling out for his father and mother. The young woman then realizes he really is who she felt he was. With tears in her eyes, she says it's no wonder he's been so close to her, protecting her and helping her solve all her problems. Feeling foolish for not realizing it sooner, she wonders how he spent the past years and what caused him to change so much. As she embraces him, she imagines everything he went through must have been very painful. But she says now he doesn't have to go through anything alone anymore. Turning to the gravestone, she tells his parents it's been so long and she can't believe the boy has truly returned. Promising she will take care of him, she says he will grow and become a very good man. Still on the ground, the young man opens his eyes. Blushing, he asks what she's doing there. Grabbing a bottle, he says he still wants to drink, but the young woman tells him to stop so they can go home. Taking him by the arm, she says he reeks of alcohol. His parents told her to keep an eye on him, so he must go home, take a shower, and rest. He then says she is not his wife. In response, she says her uncles told her that until he finds someone, she will act as a substitute wife. Smiling, he thinks instead of revenge, perhaps this is what his parents would want to see. 3 hours later, a blonde girl arrives at the cemetery. She reveals that because of the nightmares she had the previous night, she decided to visit the place. Looking at the bag left by Yi Chen, she wonders if that tribute was left by someone. Shocked, she realizes inside the bag is the Grandmaster Yo Zhenyu. Thinking about who could have done this, she recalls what happened to the father and son of the Chen family. Upon seeing whose tombstone it is, She concludes it must be an act of revenge. She then orders someone to investigate all the cameras around Tianshan Mountain and find out who visited the Yi family's tombstone. At the Daju apartment, someone knocks on the door. Chen, who was sleeping while hugging Sun Yi, wakes up. He remembers he drank too much, which is unusual for him. The young woman also wakes up and asks who could be knocking at the door at this hour of the morning. Embarrassed and surprised, the boy asks why she is sleeping in his bed. Jokingly, he asks if she has started desiring his body, which makes her angry. Shouting, she says it was him who slept too much and insisted on holding her so they would sleep together, which made her reek of alcohol. He then asks why she can't just hug him since she said she was his temporary wife. Completely embarrassed, she replies it's not that she can't, she just avoids it when he is so drunk. She then orders him to open the door since she isn't dressed properly to answer it. Opening the door, the boy comes face to face with Shen Mengjia. Quickly questioning why she is at the apartment, she reminds him he invited her father for dinner, and since they couldn't reach him by phone, they decided to come in person. In her thoughts, the young woman notices how attractive his body still is. Confirming the dinner, he says the restaurant is at number 14 Ziluan Lane, and they will meet at 7. In the car, the man asks if the address is correct. Jia admits she has never heard of the place either. The driver then says he knows the place. Relaxed, Mr. Shen says it's fine as long as the driver knows where it is and asks if it's expensive, adding it's worth inviting Mr. Yi for a meal. His employee then says the place is not expensive, located on a snack street with small shops where the per capita consumption doesn't exceed 30 yuan. The man and his daughter are not pleased by what they hear. The young woman then asks why a man who charges hundreds of millions of dollars per consultation would want them to eat cheap snacks. In response, the man says maybe he simply likes it. They then arrive at the restaurant. Inside, a man and a woman wonder why someone with such an expensive car would go to a small restaurant. Yi Chen then informs them those are the guests he invited and asks the couple to prepare lingwang. Seeing this, Jia wonders what kind of person the boy has met. Smiling, Mr. Shen says as soon as he got out of the car, he could smell it just as he and Mr. Yi had said. The owner then invites them in. The old man's daughter, while chewing, says the food is surprisingly delicious, affordable, yet offering a unique flavor. In his thoughts, her father notes the price is reasonable and the food is good, but the decor is simple and the place only has one table. Concluding they need more customers, he then asks his employee to speak to the publicity department to take action, as he wants the place to be crowded with customers in the future. Zia Luixu then says the man need not worry as the matter will be easily resolved. Shocked, the restaurant owners ask who this powerful man is. Yi Chen then thanks his uncles for their help. The man asks if he invited him to dinner just for the food. Getting straight to the point, the boy asks if he knows about the Tianxin group, leaving Jia's father astonished. He recalls that 5 years ago, this group was the Yi family's company in Jing, led by Yi Hongren. However, after the tragedy that occurred, the group was divided and annexed by many forces. These hidden forces bartered and restructured the assets of the Tianxin group, making it a very difficult mission for anyone to find out where the network is now. Snapping out of his thoughts, the old man asks the boy why he is so interested in the original family. But then he suddenly realizes the young man belongs to that family, and he did not die as everyone believed. Smiling, the young man admits the man is correct in his reasoning. The reason he called him is because he wants to reclaim the Tianxin group. The man then asks if that is truly what he wants. Confirming, the young man says he wants to take back his father's hard work and asks the man to tell him where the group is located. In response, the old man explains the group was divided 5 years ago by complex forces. The most significant is the King group, whose leader is named Jian Jingaming. Thinking, the young man says that's a name he will never forget. The man was an old friend of his father and the uncle he always trusted. but it was he who personally delivered the invitation letter to Yunhu Villa to his father. Even after his father left, he continued smiling and currying favor with the man from the capital. Seeing the rage growing in his eyes, Sun Yi grows concerned. The young man then tells her to stay calm, reassuring her he's fine. Realizing the boy has limited information, Mr. Shen says he will contact some connections and they will work together to take over the King group. His daughter watches and wonders if her father is trembling with nerves, but she notices the trembling is because the man wants to align himself with Yi Chen. The young man then asks if the man isn't afraid his family will get involved. Without answering, the old man proposes a deal where he will take 10% of the profits from the captured group but hold no real power. Understanding business, the young woman with purple hair realizes the old man's ultimate goal is simply to ally himself with the boy. Accepting the deal, Chen then says if the Shen family faces problems, they will receive help. Happy, the old man wonders if this is what it feels like to open new territory, thinking that if they succeed, his family will do very well. Leaving the restaurant, Sun Yi says if they manage to recover the heart and soul of the boy's father, he will be very happy. Smiling, the young man agrees with her statement. Instantly, he realizes he is being followed but senses there's no intent to harm him. He suspects it's Yilin who sent someone to protect him. On their way home, the young woman accompanying him mentions she's running out of snacks in her apartment and needs to buy more. The young man then asks if she'd like to eat, but she declines. Taking out his phone, he decides to call the king of Jing to meet him. The man answers and says it's about time he called. In response, Chen says if he's correct, the man should be in Jing at that moment, and he should no longer call him Lord. He then requests to meet him somewhere at 8 p.m. to clarify some things. Laughing, the man says the meeting place will be the Yewai Club, as it is his property and offers a quiet environment. Yi Chen remarks he remembers it as the best club in the area and doubts it's actually owned by him. Meanwhile, a man and a short-haired woman arrive in front of a building. The man asks if Xia Luoxu is still thinking about Yo Zhenyu, saying he fears it might all have been an accident. Disagreeing, the woman says that's not possible. During the investigation conducted by the Chu family, it seemed like someone was trying to cover something up, hindering its progress. She wonders who could block information so effectively. Reassuring her, the man says he will meet with someone from the National Security Bureau's graduation ball that night to get answers. Another woman then asks them to show their membership cards to gain entry. Entering the place, the young woman tells the man who is actually her father the club doesn't seem the same. She comments the place is filled with very powerful people. Glancing sideways, her father asks if she noticed a hunched old man. She asks if he knows him. Affirming he does, the man says that is Master Rudder of the Yewai Club, a highly skilled martial arts master, and one of the reasons no one dares to mess with the club. Confused, the girl asks if the reason people go to great lengths to please the club is because of the old man. Denying this, the man says people do what they do to gain favor with the man behind the master, the king of Jing, Yilin. The young woman is stunned by the revelation. Reflecting, she says although the Chu family is the #1 family in Jing, the entire Jiangnan province is under the shadow of the king. Her father then says the man is far beyond their reach. He warns her the man he wishes to meet will arrive soon, and they must treat him very well. The young woman says he should handle things as she goes for a walk. Alone, she reveals that every time she closes her eyes, the lifeless body of Yo Zhenyu appears in her mind. But she says the most important thing is not the man, but the people who did this as a tribute to the Yi family. She wonders who else from the family could still be alive. She then unexpectedly encounters Yi Chen, who also recognizes her. The young woman wonders how the boy could be present in such a place, but decides to be polite and asks how he is, despite his resemblance to the young man from the Yi family who had passed away. Confused, the boy asks if he can help her with something. She then apologizes and says he resembles an old classmate of hers from the past. Introducing herself, she hands him her business card and says he can ask for help if he needs it. The young man then throws the card away, irritating the girl. With one foot, he steps on the card, repeating the name of the family she belongs to. He says to him, "The Chu family is nothing." The girl scolds him, asking if he doesn't realize he's throwing away a great future. Yi Chen, with a dark gaze, tells her to leave and says he won't repeat himself, shouting that no matter what power he comes from, it will never compare to her family's. Xia Luoxu raises her hand to slap him, but she is stopped by Master Rudder, who orders her to stop and asks what is going on. Trying to cover up, the young woman introduces herself and says she has admired him for many years. Snarling, the old man says he doesn't care about the Chu family. If she doesn't leave now, she will never set foot in Yewei Club again. Apologizing, she complies and leaves, muttering under her breath, "The boy is lucky." Watching her leave, he feels relieved. With the old man in front of him, he sits on the sofa and asks where Yi Lin is, as it is time for their meeting. Master Rudder says something must have delayed him on the way, but assures him he will arrive soon. Impatient, the boy says he will wait only 3 minutes. Repeating what he said earlier, the old man wonders in his thoughts who this boy is to dare be so disrespectful to the king. If it weren't for the king's orders, he wouldn't have come to meet him. The king arrives, accompanied by a bodyguard. Leaving the old man surprised, he says it has been a year since they last met, but the king still looks as strong as ever. Yi Chen then remarks the man is 2 minutes late. Mocking, the boy says if he had taken any longer, he would have left. The sycophantic old man says the king has many business dealings, which is why he was delayed. Shocking everyone, Yi Lin kneels and pleads with the young man to stop being angry. Wide-eyed, the other 2 men observe the situation. One of them, sweating profusely, wonders what on earth could be happening for the king to act this way. The other, also sweating, thinks about how a man feared throughout Jing and all Jiangnan provinces could kneel before someone else. Looking at the man on the ground, the boy asks what he meant by his earlier statement. In response, the king calls him Sir and says he's finally calm. His subordinates then realize the young man is actually the legendary lord of the palace. It is revealed that the most powerful underground force in Jiangnan province is controlled by the king, who also governs all the rules and is the most terrifying entity in the region. But only a few people know the one truly in control of everything is the master of the temple, whose identity is unknown to most. Master Rudder thinks the mystery is finally solved. Kneeling, the other 2 men recognize the young man as the master of the palace. Seeing their actions, Yi Chen says he is no lord and orders them to leave the room, leaving him alone with the king. Yi Lin then tells the guard to stay outside the door, and if anyone dares to interrupt the meeting, they should be eliminated. The men accept the order and quickly leave, closing the door behind them. Now standing, the king says with them at the door, no one will interfere. Annoyed by the man constantly calling him master, the young man asks if it's because he saved him in Cloud Demon Valley years ago. Responding to the inquiry, he says that happened a long time ago. At that time, he and his brothers were attacked by a large number of martial artists, leaving them severely injured. But the young man, upon realizing they were from Jiangnan province like him, felt compassion and decided to use the formation talisman his master had given him to eliminate them. This act alone earned the young man's respect and admiration. The medallion he brought was the true reason he invited him to the meeting. Taking the object, the young man wonders what could be so special about it. Observing it more closely, he notices the young man engraved on the metal resembles him, leaving him surprised. Questioning who the king hired to create the gift and place his face on it, the man replies his assumption is wrong. The medallion is 100 years old, existing long before the boy saved him. Intrigued, Chen asks where he got it. In response, the king explains it is a family heirloom passed down from his great-grandfather. a grand master of physiognomy and the finest feng shui master of his time. He foresaw his family would disappear in 100 years and used a secret method to transcend the heavens and find an emperor with a purple aura. He left a message that the emperor depicted on the medal would be named Yi and would appear in 100 years. Reflecting to himself, the young man questions what kind of emperor he could be talking about. He recalls the master who rescued him mentioned he possessed the special purple dragon power, capable of breaking the Tao of heaven and altering others' fates. Speaking again, the king states that in recent years, he has controlled a powerful force in Jiangnan province. Given more time, he could defeat the capital. Angry, the young man says he doesn't need anyone to avenge his family. He warns that if the king dares to interfere, they will become enemies. Apologizing, the man says he won't interfere and doesn't know how he could have thought the young man needed his help. With a dark look, the boy declares that if the king wants him as his master, he must agree to 3 conditions. The first is not to interfere in his life. The second is to send someone to protect Sun Yi. The third is to do his utmost to locate the man from the capital. Agreeing, the king says he can fulfill all of these. As he's about to leave, the young man says that's all and he will get in touch if needed. But the king says he has something to add. He reveals several forces seem to be investigating the boy. The first is the Chu family and Jian Shen. The second is the Xia family. The third is the National Security and Dragon's Soul, which are public. Unconcerned with the first 2, the young man wonders why National Security and Dragon's Soul would be investigating him. The king then says he will find someone to take responsibility for what happened to the Chen family's father and son and Yo Jenu, but warns him to be careful. Waving his hand, the boy thanks him. As he leaves, he wonders if the Chu family's investigation is related to the tribute he left at his parents' gravestone. Bumping into Chu Zialuixu, she says if he kneels and apologizes, she will let him live. With disdain, he decides to ignore her, saying it's time for him to buy a car for situations like this. Furious, the young woman prepares to attack, declaring she will make him suffer with her claws. As she tries to wound him from behind, the young man quickly dodges. Grabbing one of her hands, he slams her forcefully to the ground. In her thoughts, she asserts she is not weak in martial arts, so how could this happen? Under the young man's dark gaze, she declares whoever he is, he will not insult her family. If he refuses to stay at the club, he will face consequences. Grabbing the young woman by her mouth, Yi Chen orders her to shut up. Struggling, she says she will eliminate him. He responds she deserves to be recycled. Realizing what is about to happen, she pleads for him to stop. With just one hand, he throws her into a trash can, stating that is the best place for her. Covered in garbage, she calls him a bastard and wishes for him to meet a very painful end. The young man then arrives at his apartment, thinking that although Chu Luixu was hateful, she had nothing to do with what happened to his parents and was thus blameless. In his memory, the Chu family was not present at Yunhu Villa, but he is greatly mistaken. Entering the place, he assumes Sun Yi must already be asleep and decides not to disturb her. In his room, he finds a woman lying on his bed and assumes she is the young woman with purple hair, deciding to just lie down and sleep as well. The next morning, he wakes up and asks the person beside him what time it is. To his surprise, the young woman next to him isn't who he thought. Startled, she asks what he is doing there. In response, he asks her the same question, pointing out this is his room. Suddenly, Sun Yi appears and questions why he is there if he said he wouldn't come home the previous night. Shocked upon seeing the two of them, she wonders if she is interpreting the situation correctly. Embarrassed, she asks if something happened between them. The young man thinks to himself he lied to her, assuming she would wait for him late into the night. The girl clarifies it's all a misunderstanding. Reflecting on her situation, the young woman, a member of the Xia family, says if she goes back home, she'll be forced to marry a man. So to drown her troubles, she sought out Sun Yi, drinking heavily, which led to her falling asleep. Yi Chen realizes he forgot she would be staying there. He takes responsibility for the incident, even though nothing happened and all he did was hug someone for a night. The young woman then says he isn't responsible for anything and remarks the prescription he bought won't make a difference in the world, implying they come from different worlds. He agrees with her and leaves the room, slamming the door behind him. His phone rings. Answering it, he asks Shen Hua what the issue is. The man asks if he's not disturbing him, but the young man quickly inquires about updates regarding the King Group. In response, the man says he asked his team to draft plans which have a 90% feasibility rate and would like to send them over to him. Yi Chen says he trusts the man and doesn't need explanations. Mr. Shen then mentions there are some documents that need Jian Jingming's signature. He reveals he discovered the group is controlled by a malicious force called Cayman, which needs to be eradicated. The young man agrees but asks if it would be possible to reclaim the group within 3 days if both issues are resolved. The man confirms it is. The young man then asks him to send the documents so he can secure the signature that very night. After the call ends, the man thinks if the young man can truly execute these tasks, his abilities are far beyond what he could imagine, wondering what kind of person he is. Following at night, in the building complex, Chen arrives with the documents. At the building, which is also the headquarters of the King Group, he says based on the information he received from Yi Lin, Jian Jingming is currently at the location discussing internal affairs. The time has come to make him talk about what he knows. In the elevator, he recalls the king mentioned the building has 33 floors, but the elevator only goes up to the 20th floor, requiring a special pass to access the rest. On the 32nd floor are some of Jingming's villains who gather there to carry out illegal transactions. On the 33rd floor is where the group's leader resides, making him realize he will need to use some special methods to get in. Placing his hand on a glass panel, the young man considers breaking it, but the shards might harm innocent people, so he decides it's better to use Kai to dissolve it. As the process takes place, men on the 32nd floor hear a noise and wonder if someone is breaking in. One of them orders the others to quickly check what's going on. Inside the room, the young man appears and says the search isn't necessary because he's right there. The men shout, asking who he is and if he knows what kind of place this is. In response, with a dark look, the young man says he is the last person they will ever see. The gang leader shouts, asking if he's crazy, but he is defeated with a single blow, leaving his subordinates in shock. Thinking about what the king said, Yi Chen declares these villains commit every crime imaginable, saying aloud it would be a crime to let them live. On the 33rd floor, a meeting is taking place. A man in a white suit tells Mr. Jian Jingming it seems something is happening on the floor below. In response, the man says it's probably just some brothers playing cards and adds they are protected by Cayman's senior officials. Returning to business, the blonde man says as long as he provides the map of the province's airport, he will become the agent for all the country's business at Jing's port in the future. The subordinates then say if he hands over the map, China's security will be jeopardized, constituting an act of treason. With disdain, the old man asks why they care about that when they commit so many other crimes, such as arms smuggling. The blonde man then asks Jian to add one more item, the supply of 10 sets of high-precision equipment, each worth several million on the market. Pleased with the proposal, the man says he can't refuse, extending the handshake to seal the deal. Suddenly, the door explodes, catching everyone off guard. Yi Chen storms in, shouting they've truly become the dogs of Country M. Even ending them 1,000 times wouldn't be enough punishment for such an act. The group's leader, distressed, notices a resemblance in the boy, but insists it's impossible he is who he thinks he is. Shouting, he asks where his guards are. The boy responds they are sleeping a sleep from which they'll never wake. Aghast, the old man asks how that's possible when so many top-tier specialists were among them. Throwing an envelope at the man's face, the boy demands he sign it. Realizing it's an unconditional capital transfer contract, the group leader asks if he's insane to demand such a thing. The man in the white suit snaps his fingers and orders his bodyguard to eliminate the young man. Obeying, the bodyguard grabs what looks like a high-powered machine gun, declaring the mission will be completed with just one finger. The boy stops the bullets and sends them back, completely annihilating his opponent, who stood no chance. Two more men rush to attack, questioning how he dares to come there like this. Observing their power, the boy acknowledges their attack is strong by Jing's standards. But unfortunately, compared to him, they are still far too weak. He counters, defeating them. Realizing who the boy is, Jian Jingaming asks how someone so young can be a martial arts master. Terrified, the man in the white suit tries to flee, declaring he won't interfere with the boy's business, but he is swiftly eliminated without any chance of defense. The group leader begins screaming upon witnessing the events. Chen then orders him to sign the contract papers. While begging for his life, the man pleads with the boy not to eliminate him as well. Holding the signed agreement, Chen declares the man is now useless. On his knees, the old man asks if the boy intends to destroy them all, warning that the organization he leads won't let him escape if he does. Smiling, the boy reveals his initial plan was just to take over the King group, but he has changed his mind and now intends to destroy them. Giving him one last chance, he asks the man for his final words. Angrily, the man says the boy shouldn't be so arrogant, even if he's a master, because the sect is also led by a master who will both him and his family. In response, the boy declares his entire family was killed 5 years ago at Yunhu Villa, leaving the old man to realize he is indeed Yi Chen. On his knees, the man tries to reverse the situation, claiming it's all a misunderstanding. He says the group was the best friend of the boy's father and would never harm him. Irritated, the boy kicks him in the face and demands how he dares to talk about his father and claim to be his uncle. Holding his nose, the man begs the boy to let him go, but the boy only laughs maniacally as he activates his power. He questions why he should let him go when the man spared no mercy for his family back then. While beating him, he screams, demanding to know what his parents did to him and why he betrayed them. He confesses he never wanted to be this way. He wished to study and live a normal life. In the past, he would tremble just at the sight of chicken being killed. But now, the only thing keeping him alive is hatred. He declares he will continue until all those bastards meet the King of Hell. Outside the building, the young man reflects on how considerate the king was in sending cleaners to handle the scene and bringing him new clothes. He states it's time to deal with Cayman. A young woman approaches and, addressing him by name, asks what he is doing there. The woman is none other than Officer Bailey Bing. Without answering her, the young man asks if there are any criminals nearby. She simply replies it's a confidential mission. He then says in that case, he's not obligated to answer her question either. Suddenly, they hear a noise. A massive rock begins falling toward the officer, making her wonder if this will be her end. But quickly, Yi Chen pulls her out of harm's way, asking if she's okay. She can only thank him. Accepting her gratitude, he remembers he's involved in what happened. Watching an explosion occur, he wonders if the entire floor will blow up. Even if the goal is to erase evidence, other people run out of the building terrified. As tattooed men pass by them, the officer notices they are from Cayman, possibly the ones responsible for the explosion. The group is the focus of her investigation, as they are like a cancer to the city. Realizing this is her chance to finally obtain evidence, she informs Yi Chen she needs to handle something. In response, the boy says it's none of his business, but he decides to follow her to join forces and solve the problem. Following the tattooed men, the woman notices they are heading to a Cayman fortress hidden in an abandoned factory. determined. She thinks she just needs evidence to call for reinforcements and eliminate everyone inside. Climbing onto containers to reach a window, she realizes she's on the right track. But as she takes out her phone, she notices the signal is blocked, making it difficult to call for help. Seeing the box the men are carrying, she thinks she needs to open it to take pictures as evidence. But suddenly, someone starts shouting, grabbing her attention. Inside the factory, a man begs his master for help, saying he doesn't know what happened, but the building simply exploded. In response, the master asks if out of so many people, only those 2 losers survived. Spotting the officer, he says the men didn't even notice they were being followed. Surprised, the woman cannot believe the man is a former martial artist more powerful than her. Deciding to run to save herself, the man behind her catches her with one hand, throwing her violently to the ground. Holding her by the head, he says she is very beautiful and worth admiring. In response, she reveals she is a police officer, and her colleagues already know about his fortress. Thus, if anything happens, his gang will be destroyed. Throwing her again, the man says he has already been shot enough and asks how she dares to threaten him, asserting they are going to have fun. Claiming her father is Bailey Xin from the Southwest Military Region, the officer warns that if anything happens to her, the group will face severe consequences. Hearing this, the man considers how powerful her father must be and wonders why his daughter is a police officer in such a place. But looking at her on the ground, he says they will deal with that later. Injured, she thinks she should not have come to this place alone, nor should she have become an officer in this small town. She prefers to eliminate herself rather than be humiliated by the men surrounding her. With a malicious smile, the man says he won't be gentle. A voice asks why he is forcing the woman to do something she doesn't want to do and if he doesn't find it shameful. Snarling, the man asks who the boy is and how he dares to enter Cayman territory. In response, the boy says he not only entered, but will also eliminate everyone there. Standing on top of the containers, Yi Chen asks if everyone understood. The master asks if he really said he would kill them all. After that, all the men with him start laughing, mocking his words about people and martial arts. Smiling, the man orders them to take him down to show how skilled they are. They all start shooting at the boy. However, the bullets don't hit him. He leaps off the container, charging toward them. Chen begins disarming the men. One of them comments on how incredible the boy is, while another asks how he managed to dodge all the bullets. Adjusting his glasses, the man remarks it's a martial artist's trick. Some with internal strength could do that. He calls him brave for entering Cayman alone to see for himself. He charges at the boy. With a smile, Yi Chen says he is too slow and strikes his neck, knocking off his glasses. His colleagues call his name upon seeing him flung into the air, asking if the other man killed him. They wonder what kind of person he is, calling him a murderer. On the ground, the man calls him a bastard and begs for help. The officer thinks every move he makes is lethal without a single wasted motion. It's like he's a fighting machine. She then wonders how someone so terrifying could exist in Jing. Standing before him, the rudder master remarks that with a strong man like him around, he himself would have to take action. Because of his perfect body, he couldn't hurt him and orders the boy to kneel and submit to him. However, it doesn't last long as a punch to the chin lands on him. The force makes him float in the air. When he lands on the ground, holding his chin, the man comments with sweat dripping down his face the boy is dangerous. Charging at him again, he declares he will die alongside him. The boy hits him in the stomach, remarking his actions were far too overreaching. The strike is called explosive liver. His opponent clutches his stomach, writhing in pain. The man begs him to wait and proposes a deal, saying he'll do whatever the boy wants. Looking at him seriously, Chen remarks the man talks too much and delivers a final blow, ending all the men in the room. Bailey Bing watches the scene, thinking the boy defeated Cayman's giant all by himself. Now looking at her on the ground, he comments she is next, leaving her scared as she asks what he wants. He places his hands on her, terrifying her as tears well up in her eyes. When she opens them, the boy has only adjusted her legs, leaving her confused. Pulling her legs back and covering herself, the girl asks how he could take advantage of someone, saying she thought he was a good person. Touching her again, he remarks her legs were fractured and asks if she wants to be incapacitated, leaving her stunned. He begins transferring energy to her, healing her injuries. The officer comments she feels comfortable, noting the flow of Kai in her body. She thanks him, adding he could be a famous doctor. But he's uninterested and asks her to check the phones for evidence. Intrigued, Bing asks where he's going. Somberly, Chen remarks there are still remnants to be cleaned up. After that night, he fears there will no longer be a Cayman in Jing. At the scene, several bodies lie on the ground. Among them is the martial arts master. His expression seems to show he witnessed something terrifying before dying. Cayman has become a hellish sight. The woman answers a call from her brother, telling him Jing will change. On the other end, her brother asks if she's certain Chen killed them all. She admits she fears he did, adding he even saved her. He announces he's coming to the city and warns her to stay away from him because he's extremely dangerous. She tries to argue, but he cuts her off, saying it's unimportant. He wants to see what kind of demon Yi really is. In the city, the young man reflects killing is easy, but it costs him clothes since the stains need to be destroyed. While walking, he notices a familiar figure. It's Xia Luixu. He thinks to himself rich people live good lives, spending their afternoons drinking tea. But he's too lazy to get involved with her and decides to pretend he didn't see her. However, it doesn't work as the girl spots him on the street. Asking her mother to wait, she chases after him. In the street, she shouts his name, asking why he's walking so fast. He replies he's just passing through. The girl remarks they haven't settled things since they slept together, and this is her chance to be compensated. But he simply says it was his bed, and she slept in it. As they talk, her mother appears, asking who the boy is. Embarrassed, her daughter admits she's too ashamed to say. Angry, her mother asks if she realizes the consequences if he knows she's with another man, and that the Xia family's reputation is at stake. Frightened, Luixu tries to justify herself, but falls silent. Her mother demands she return to the Xia family, saying the Huey family will take over and decrees she's no longer allowed to leave. Desperate, the girl pleads, saying she's a human being, not a bargaining chip. Unmoved, the mother asks if she intends to disobey her father. At that moment, fear overwhelms her. Trembling, she pulls away from the boy, apologizing. She walks toward her mother with a grim expression. However, Chen grabs her by the arm, telling the woman she cannot take her because she's pregnant with his child and he will take responsibility for her. The mother looks confused, unable to grasp what's happening. Suspicious and embarrassed, she asks if it's true. Yi Chen responds she knows her body, so it's a lie. To support the lie, Luixu places her hand on her stomach, claiming the baby just kicked. The boy thinks she's overacting. Her mother is left speechless by the news. He doesn't care about the Xia and doesn't like her, but the girl had asked for his help. A trace of blood appeared on her forehead when she said she would return to the Xia family. The old man told him the blood trace would increase until she died. Looking at her mother, the girl said it was true. Then, if the man knew about it, he would give up. Angrily, the mother commented her sheltered daughter had been contaminated. Shaking her, she demanded she return and get rid of the baby. She insisted she would never leave the house again, but the girl responded she didn't want to. The woman screamed it was an order. Chen grabbed her arm, saying that wasn't right. She then asked who he was, saying he wasn't worthy of her daughter, he was far beyond her reach and undeserving of even looking at her, adding even the Chu family kneels before the Xia family. With a demonic aura, the young man asked if he truly wasn't worthy of looking at her. Frightened, the woman wondered what was happening, feeling a terrible aura. Yi Chen remarked he knew nothing about the families and didn't care to. But if they waited 6 months, they would understand what truly was unattainable. Taking the girl, he told her they were leaving. She then watched the two young people walk away. Taking out her phone, she asked for help investigating who Yi Chen was, as he and her daughter seemed very close. Now walking, the girl apologized for what her mother had said. She commented that although her mother was concerned about her own interests, she didn't have a bad heart. He told her not to think about it, he hadn't done it for her, but considered it a task given by the old man. Next to him, embarrassed, the girl thought he was becoming more handsome. Stopping at a certain point, Chen hailed a taxi and said goodbye to the girl, leaving her confused. As the taxi drove away, she was left alone. The Xia family has a 100-year-old legacy. The young man didn't know its strength, so he couldn't harm it. Taking out his phone, he thought about quelling his burning anxiety first. In the car, the young man thought his strength alone wasn't enough against others. At that moment, he already had Yilin's support, but the king of Jing was suited to the shadows. Still, he needed a power that could become the light. He then asked the driver to head to Linyu. The man remarked it was a rare visit. He asked if Yi Chen was seeking him because he was in trouble. Yi threw an envelope on the table, saying it was finished, surprising the man. When he picked up the document, shocked, he wondered how Yi had managed to get Jian Jingeming to sign. Looking at the young man, he wondered if he had killed him and if that was even possible, as the other man protected by Cayman was a specialist. Interrupting his thoughts, Chen commented he had destroyed the place the night before. Faced with the confession, the man promised the Changxin group would be resurrected in 3 days. Without much attention, he asked what he thought of the Xia family. Mr. Shen explained the family was enormous, the territory and assets far beyond comparison to the King group. Then he asked if he intended to destroy them too. Smiling, the young man said Shen was afraid of a casual question. The man asked him to explain how it might be possible. With a threatening gaze, Yi asked if Shen could rule China if he were given a sword. Frightened, the man thought it was terrifying. Looking at the documents, Shen commented the sword was the Changxin group, and his own group was stronger than that. He asked if, given power greater than Cayman, Shen could use it to end the Xia within half a year. Shen replied it wouldn't be enough but required public support, and his old age made him fear he didn't have enough time. Bailey Bing's father had great strength, so he might be able to achieve it. With determination, he told the man he would handle public support and offered him a pill that could extend his life by 50 years, leaving him stunned. They reached an agreement. Shen commented he could make the Changxin group an unshakable force. Chen said goodbye, saying he would see him in 3 days. Shen told him to be careful on his way. His destiny was about to change. Previously, he could only hide in Jing City, but now he might be followed across Jiangnan, China, and even the world. In one of the apartments, the young man announced he was back. Seeing Sun Yi and the other girl, the latter asked why he was there. Sun Yi called his name. The young man asked why the blonde was there. He asked if she couldn't stay alone and came to his home to argue. However, the blonde said the house was hers. The Huami group had been taken over by her family, so she couldn't stay in the villa, and her card had been blocked, leaving her with no other place to go. Without patience, Chen asks where he is supposed to sleep, making it clear he will share a bed with her and suggests she think about who might be blackmailing her. To ease the tension, the other girl suggests they could sleep together. Shortly after, another argument arises about the rice they'll eat, as the girl insists she won't eat for free. She asks if she could work with Chen. He responds it would be a good idea. The blonde recalls she almost forgot about the precious recipe. She wonders if he's a man hiding his wealth. Convinced, she remarks she's never served anyone before, but as long as they work together, she guarantees the business will thrive. She then asks him to promise to hire her, adding that if her family finds out, they'll try to suppress and retaliate against the business. smiling. He says he's willing to take that risk. Excited by his response, she starts asking all sorts of questions about the company. A bit nervous, he admits nothing has been decided yet. She responds she might be foolish, but she believes in his words. She thinks to herself that unfortunately, this man dares to promise and hope for half a year to prove himself, but he knows very little about the world. Even if Changsun and Jingyan are sent to help him, it's impossible to surpass her family financially. The true major consortia in China are all hidden in the shadows. With a glass of wine in hand, another woman asks how the situation is progressing. A man comments that according to the tests, her daughter cannot be pregnant. But the girl invited Sum Yi to drink and stayed in the same house as the boy, so it's possible something happened. Throwing the glass to the ground in anger, she declares if something did happen, she wants the boy dead. She then asks where he came from. Her subordinate comments Yi Chen's origins are very strange. He couldn't find any information. It's as if he appeared out of nowhere. However, he suspects he is the young man who survived the incident at Yunhu Villa 5 years ago. The woman reflects that although it happened in Jing, it shook the entire province because the Yi family offended powerful men from the capital. She realizes the boy likely refuses to accept the destruction of his family and wants to rise in power to avenge his parents. It's actually a good plan. If that's the case, she shouldn't offer a half-year contract. The man suggests he may lack support, and she agrees. Indifferently, she states she'll give him half a year to see how he plans to make her family kneel. Meanwhile, Chen is on the balcony, reflecting more people in the house will bring trouble. Even simple tasks like taking a bath or using the bathroom could lead to accidents. He recalls an incident where the girl barged in on him unaware he was bathing. She threw toilet paper at him, calling him a pervert, while he defended himself, claiming he couldn't have known someone was entering. He thinks he should focus on business. He agrees with Shen that the power behind the scenes is easy to identify. Yilin is enough. His recipe is worthwhile. The problem is public support. He doesn't know Bailey well enough to count on her help. Yilin might be connected to it. As he ponders, he senses someone might be watching him. Turning around, he decides to go back inside the apartment. If they want to play hunter and prey, he's curious to see who will become the prey. From above, someone observes him entering. The observer is stationed in the building across from him. Up there, the man comments the boy doesn't seem special. The woman must have been deceived. Since he's rumored to be a former martial artist, he wonders if it's really true. As he grabs his binoculars and points them at the balcony, he realizes the boy has vanished. Turning around, he notices Chen closing in on him. The man wonders how the boy scaled an 80-meter building so quickly. He is truly a master. Chen charges at him with incredible speed. The man prepares his punch, running directly at him. The two collide, generating an explosion of energy. The man thinks the boy's strength is terrifying. He wants to crush his arm. Dodging, he realizes he can't fight head-on and opts for evasive maneuvers. Noticing this, Chen grows irritated. Jumping, he decides to attack with his leg, challenging the man to dodge that. As he lands, dust rises along with a loud noise. However, there's no one there except a mark on the concrete. Chen realizes the man has several tricks. The man reappears behind him, ready to strike. But Chen remarks it's not enough to land a hit on him. The punch is aimed at his nape. However, a shield blocks it, surprising the attacker. The information he had was wrong. Yi Chen isn't an ancient martial arts master, he's clearly a cultivator. Now standing face to face, the man acknowledges it's no wonder Yi is so powerful. He easily destroyed many ancient warriors. His sister's limited experience prevented her from seeing the truth that person was not a martial arts cultivator, but an immortal arts cultivator. Cultivators weren't necessarily stronger than ancient warriors. As he thought about it, the young man disappeared from sight again. With the speed of lightning, he reappeared and kicked his opponent. The kick was so strong it sent him flying against the wall. Seeing the young man standing still, the other approached cautiously. Frightened and desperate, the man began to say he only wanted to learn about him, but if he truly wanted to kill him, they should talk first. At that moment, the young man placed his foot on the man's chest, pressing him down. He asked who he was and why he was observing him, questioning whether he was sent by the Chu or Xia families. In pain, the man said he didn't want to kill him and bore no resentment toward him. Handing over a notebook for Yi Chen to read, the notebook stated he was a captain of the Dragon Soul Command. Yi Chen asked to be released now that he knew the information. However, the young man said he had never heard of that command, and since the man dared to spy on him, he must pay the price. Terrified, the man mentioned they had mutual acquaintances and named Bailey Bing. Curious, he asked about their relationship. The man said she was his younger sister and he wanted to invite Yi to join their group. He was spying to see how skilled Yi was. Thinking his sister's name carried more weight than the group's, still angry, Chen said if the man wanted to invite him, he should have approached directly instead of spying. Adding the man was wrong, it might be better to finish him off. Nervously, the man admitted his mistake, apologized, and said he now owed Yi a debt. He offered to help with public power if he found himself in trouble. Considering the matter, he concluded he needed influential allies. While Bing was his first choice, he could also use the man. Getting closer, he asked about the Dragon Soul Command's status in China. The man said they opposed mysterious forces and obeyed only their chief. He thought there might be someone stronger, but it was enough for the Tiangxin group. He said he could let the man go if he established an agreement with a company in the city. The man asked if his command was to be used as a shield for a company. Yi Chen questioned if he was sure. The man thought it was both humiliating and overkill, like using a sledgehammer to kill a mosquito. He confirmed. The man commented the company Yi Chen referred to must be significant, and whether they agreed or not, he would help. Chen acknowledged the offer and gave the man a pill to heal his injuries. Impressed, the man wondered about Yi Chen's origins. He not only cultivated but also possessed medicinal pills, something he had only heard of before and was now seeing for the first time. He asked if he had more pills. Throwing several into the man's hands, he said he had plenty of them. The man asked how many pills he had and suggested he could bring them to the country or military. But Yi Chen replied they weren't relics and had no reason to hand them over. As he walked away, he said if the man truly wanted to negotiate, he should do what was asked and let the rightful person speak to him directly. With that, Yi Chen left the building, leaving the man to think the person Yi referred to had many tasks to handle daily and couldn't stop to meet him. Leaning against the wall, the man remarked the city had produced an extraordinary man. In the apartment, the girls were chatting while bathing. In his room, Yi commented that living with two women meant the laundry and bathroom were always occupied, so he had to be ready for anything. His power had grown significantly lately, so he decided to attempt entering the tomb of reincarnation again. Closing his eyes, he began to train. When he opened them again, he found himself surrounded by tombs. This time, his body didn't hurt and the discomfort was gone. Moreover, the tomb didn't reject him, making him wonder if it was because his power had increased. Looking at a tombstone above, he noticed something. It read, Sword Immortal Sect, Lu Yuyan,